on this episode of the Star Wars Time Show. Matt and Nick will continue the journey of breaking down the Acolyte's first season, even though they get punched in the digital gut repeatedly by super nice people online. It's okay, as they say, all engagement is good engagement, and luckily these two sort of have their heads screwed on straight. But seriously, be nice to someone today. It actually feels pretty good to do so. Anyway, the dudes will tackle what went down this week. Are we any closer to learning about Soul's dark deeds? What the heck is Kamir really? And how are the twins doing in their new roles? All this and more on this week's SWTS. And of course, the show will end with the question of the week responses and the latest round of Top Hot. Punch it, Chewie.
I thought I had it. Hey now, where am I? I do sound like Baba Booey right now, for those of you that are in the know. Hold on, let me get my thinking cap on, my friends. I don't want anyone to lose their retina before the July 4th holiday, if they happen to be over here in the States, where we like to buy legal dynamite and light it off for fun, to celebrate our freedom from a monarchy that we just reinstated this Monday through the Supreme Court. Woohoo! God bless America and our new king. Anyways, my friends, let's not deal with that shit. We'll all be dead in 6 more months anyway, so who cares? Let's talk some Star Wars. There's always time for Star Wars time! Holy hell, man. Nick and I were just talking. What a time to be alive if you're into Star Wars, new Star Wars, old Star Wars, canon, not canon, legends, comics, video games, it doesn't matter. Things are popping right now because of the Acolyte. Good or bad. This show truly has kind of put out there, Nick, the saying that all press is good press is true.
Yeah,
We are getting more engagement than ever. Most of it negative, but it's still engagement, so it makes me feel happy. This show, as Nick has stated, or at least to me, is creaming viewership expectations. Is it all hate? Who gives a shit? Star Wars is being viewed, it's being discussed, and I'm guessing, Nick, you probably still feel the same way about the Acolyte, but with each new episode, you're like, more, you know, that Kylo Ren stuff. Yeah. My man right there on Crate. So good to see you. Nick and I, we have not even scratched the surface on 6 yet, so this is going to be a kind of a brand new discussion. I know he knows about the stuff that you may not know, the legends, connections, the islands, the veins of minerals that are important to Sith legend lords. Boy, not as much action this episode, but I'll tell you what, some fantastic character moments, bunch of perspective shifting for our 4 main leads, and we kind of got this Jedi conspiracy shady subplot really kicking off with the green gal. So lots of fun to talk about, but before we do that, Nick, let's see what the fans had to ask us, all right?
Indeed.
Let's get
it out.
Ask Us Anything up right now. All right, what do we got? I'm losing screens here. Sorry, people. I am a man of routine, and doing the show an hour early today has really fucked with my head. So hopefully I got everything in order. I didn't miss anything. I was late to posting a lot of shit, so who knows what the fallout's going to be. But we'll get there. All right, let's bring the browser down. By the way, if you're just listening to this show, which we've noticed a lot of new podcast listeners, so much so that our bill's going up, and it's not us getting ripped off like we did earlier this year. We Nick, the numbers are high, and they are consistent.
I mean, people are really into this show. I mean, regardless of what the negative contingent of the fan base out there may think, like, people like this show, people engage with content around this show, and like everybody who's in the Star Wars content creation space is seeing increases in viewership and engagement because of this show.
Damn Skippy.
So if you're Disney and you're seeing all of that and you're seeing some of the highest viewership that you've seen on a live action Star Wars show,
keep pissing them off.
I would say, what's not to like? What's not to like?
Yeah, let's keep pandering, motherfuckers. We've got viewership. We've got engagement. Yeah, I mean, I was telling Nick, he's not wrong. I mean, I've been trying to kind of kick the door in on the Beyond the Dune Sea network of YouTubers over there. They all seem very friendly and help boost each other's work. We're slowly getting in there. Every once in a while, they give us a shout. But looking at Beyond the Dune Sea, I mean, they are already building a bigger audience than us. But holy shit, I mean, their shows now, their weekly shows have crested thousands, 2,000s of views. So kudos to them, even though last night Connor was a little poo-poo pee-pee about this episode. We'll see if his tone changes by Friday. Make sure to catch their show. All right, man, let's see what they got to say here. What is this? Yeah, people are we're dealing with our live streamers. As I was about to say, if you want to join us, usually do Wednesdays, 5 p. East, as soon as we can get youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Yeah, Bat, we agree with you. Bat's saying people are discovering a great podcast about Star Wars. What? No, I know. That's how I feel every day. Be mad. Let's do it. He's already dropping trophies on us. Guys, let's make sure to give them their trophies for speculating. Yeah, I mean, listen. If you listen to the show, you actually listen, like you clear all that shit out of your brain. I was teeing up the OSHA turning dark weeks ago, if not months. I never know what I say, but definitely weeks ago by episode 1 or 2. Easy. Pretty sure I nailed the speculation of this episode. I mean, pretty sure I fucking killed it last week. Don't roll the tape because I probably didn't, so we're just going to run with it that I nailed it. So thank you, B Mad. We got to remind everyone that we are awesome. Holy shit, so awesome. He just gave us $9.99. B-Man, we love you. Oh, congrats on the 2,000 subs. That's right. Thank you. We did crest 2,000, Nick.
Yes, so I see that. That's 2001.
That's right, buddy.
There we go.
That's kudos to the diehards like B-Mad, Devin Doty, Bat, Johnny Osage, Mando Pirate. Joe Sue is starting to become a regular. We'll give Joe Sue props. First one in here. We love all you. Sorry, the burps, the gas may be in abundance today because I just chugged a protein shake before we went live. So, all right, man, let's get to the questions here because guess what? Some of them deal with the Acolyte. So you all are going to probably not going to get any reprieve from the Acolyte talk until I hit my... It's going to be an
Acolyte-heavy show because that's what's going on.
That's right. I am going to do a little pop culture. Got a little Quiet Place trilogy comments to make. But here we go. This comes from BC Scrubs. Very kind Aussie who promotes our channel on his Instagram. He's asking you, Nick, how would you like Star Wars to focus moving forward?
I think that they're moving in the right direction with this show.
Backwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is value in exploring new timelines. You know, that like whether you like this show or you hate this show, the numbers are undeniable, and it's because, hey, we're not going to watch a show that is involving all the same characters that you already know and you've seen for, decades already. It's exploring new ground. It's establishing new lore. It's establishing new characters. And that's what's good about any show, not just Star Wars, but, even if you're looking at Star Trek or any other long running franchise, it's always nice when you get to see some stuff that you've never seen before and explore new timelines and explore new characters that you've never met before. I've been calling for that for a long time, like really like pushing for Star Wars to dig into areas that haven't already been covered over and over again. That's why I was excited about this show, and that's why I think that this show is doing well, because it's not just like, well, what's Obi-Wan Kenobi up to again, or what's happening in the Imperial era, which we've seen for 40, 50 years and stuff like that. I do think that exploring timelines that are relatively new or that have little content made around them is a direction to follow.
Yeah. Listen, this ain't going to be a popular opinion, but I'm already accused of being the #1 Disney shill out there. Just go look at our comments. It's fun. The Acolyte, we can start with the Acolyte Season 2, BC. And then here comes the digital tomatoes. I'd be fine letting Leslie do what she wants to do and do some Old Republic stuff, because clearly this person has a deep grasp of the Star Wars universe, both Legends, canon, and how to... Now, listen, we're not going to know if she nailed it until the end of episode 8, so that there's an asterisk behind this statement. But if she does nail the ending here, we could argue that she has become one of the better creators in infusing old canon, new canon, Legends back into canon to tie it to the existing and modern canon. So, yeah, I'm with Nick. Let's go backwards. I will take an Acolyte season 2, 100%. Go ahead and tell me how stupid I am and I'm a big shill. My brain's falling out of my nose. It's fine. I enjoy it. I like discussing it with my friend right here and anyone else that will choose to listen to my hot air. Speaking of, I spit a lot of it today in my own breakdown. And I'm not going to lie. I really think my breakdowns are getting better and better. As you can tell, I'm a very humble person, especially when it comes to Star Wars. The narcissism over here is at an all-time high. But I think my breakdown today is pretty damn special. So make sure to check it out. Grab yourself some popcorn, maybe your favorite drugs. Pop it in because it's about 12 minutes long. YouTube.com/Star Wars Time Show. All right. Thanks, BC. Next question for us, Nick, here. Coming from EKU Rory. No question. Just he's stating soul. Fuck. S-O-L spells soul, Matt.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Soul is the father of the twins. No.
100% not correct, but we respect that you have really locked in on that opinion. I mean, he's definitely not the father. But also, if you have been a part of the community for a while, you know that Mr. EKU Rory is a jokester.
I may know this guy. He also wants to do nasty things with Jar Jar Binks, and we'll leave it at that. Joe Sue saying here, I may not agree with y'all on this show for at least half the time, but I respect y'all love and like to listen to why someone likes a show or film. Shill, whatever, LLL, but I love Star Wars, so I don't care.
There you go.
Joe Sue, thanks for sticking on this journey. I know you may not have loved us when you first stumbled in here somehow. We don't even know how you found it because the internet hides us, but we appreciate it. Thanks for coming back. McNugget coming in here. McNugget just joined the Discord last week. You can do it too, my friends. Free link there in the Instagram, maybe even on the YouTubes. Check it out. McNugget saying, hopefully this show sticks to landing because I've been loving it. And that's going to be the trick. Listen, I've been saying that since episode 1. Really, probably before the show, because it's always been explained like, listen, this is going to be just like Lucas intended Star Wars to be, a serialized sci-fi mystery. You're going to get a little bit each week and you're going to have to wait. So the problem with that formula, as we've discussed, you've got to make the wait worth it. And if we get to the end and it's like huzzah, and we all go, huh, like Lost, the Lost finale, it just erases everything that came before it. So yeah, sticking it's going to be key. Next question, Johnny Osage AVE. So are the wounds on Kamir from Venestra? Crack that whip. Well,
could be, man.
That definitely is a theory I started spitting in my breakdown, Johnny. So I'm not far off. I mean, the only other thing I think it could be, and it looks so much like a whip mark, and they made a point to show that. And hey, let's make sure to show everyone that missed the trailer that someone can whip their lightsaber. But he might have got zapped by a Sith Master too. You never know, a Sith Lord. You just never know.
I mean, we definitely have a lot of speculation around Kamir that we'll get to when we get into our breakdown. But it is not, like lashes are a thing, especially in religious cultures. Like lashing somebody who is being disobedient, lashing or like imposing somebody lash themselves. I mean, we know that the Jedi Order is based heavily, based heavily around religious organizations in terms of its forming in the actual.
He's like he's like that Da Vinci Code guy. He sits there at night and beats his back with his saber.
Hey man, and then, like you said, is it a coincidence that we see what looks like a lash mark on Kamir's back and then also see a light whip for the first time ever in live action Star Wars?
Yep.
Who knows, right?
I don't know. Yeah, don't worry, Johnny. We got plenty of thoughts coming up on the whips, Khmer's back, purple lightsabers, all that fun stuff. Okay, Ripik Tan, do you think that light whip moment will be all we see of that weapon in the series?
I hope not. I hope not, dude, because light whips from old EU Legend stuff, I mean, you never really got to see them. It was always in writing, but it's such a dynamic weapon that can be used in so many different ways from a traditional lightsaber. It was always fun to picture that kind of stuff in my head when somebody was using light whip. So I really do hope we see it again. I don't know in what fashion we would see it. It seems like Bernestra is kind of the same mind as Soul, where it was like, you know, she knows what this is, but she is not going to bring it to anybody. And the reason why, you know, they mentioned it earlier in the series, but also we just saw it in this episode. Bernestra is being hounded by senators.
Yeah.
They're going to do an external review of the Jedi Order. like this is why are the Jedi hesitant to be like, the Sith are back.
Yeah.
The fucking dark side is back.
Because a Senator Ray in court's going to be like, see, these pieces of shit can't even beat their vanquished enemies.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear now. Like, it's very clear now, the motivations and why these Jedi are not just running to the High Council to be like, shit is falling apart, everybody.
Yeah.
It's because their order is in danger.
Yes.
The order is in danger, not from the order
politically
from within the order, but from the forces outside of the order. Like, it's very interesting. My friend Phil says he still holding out to see a guard Shoto saber in live action. It was close. Like, what Khmer? Like, I know Khmer separated his blade, Phil. So it's not technically a guard Shoto, but that was pretty close. It is a smaller version of a lightsaber out there. But I also would like to see somebody using a guard Shoto.
Maybe Darth Osha when she takes the vow. She had herself a little Anakin moment there at the end, huh?
Definitely
Man, fucking cool. Like, just lots of cool moments. That's why I almost wanted to, like, smack Connor in the head. Be like, how could you hate that episode?
It's like
he was upset at Basil's little fight dance. Like, that derailed the episode for him. Like,
come on, like, man. Have you never watched Star Wars before? Every version of Star Wars has a fucking cute little character in it.
Goofy moment. Anyway, all right. Good stuff there. I'm with you. It's just like, how do we resolve Vernestra's thread? I mean, this clearly wouldn't happen to the finale because next week it's so clear now that, we are going to have a flashback. Hopefully it's not full flashback and we get some Osha Khmer action again. But her doing it again would be finale, and I'm assuming she still is keeping things under wraps. She ends up on Brendok with everyone. Maybe she cleans up the entire mess herself. Or she goes out too, and her and Soul, the two that knew, they're done, and there we go. The thread is closed. But yeah, we'll obviously get into all that once we start hammering Teach, Corrupt, E6 of the Acolyte. Okay, Jedi with purple lightsabers are shady as shit. Change my mind. Coming from Star Wars Toy 73. No, I don't want to, because I'm with you. The only two I know are the three: Revan, Mace, and Vernestra. We know Mace is a fucking piece of garbage. We know Revan had his issues with the dark and light. And it's looking like Vernestra is the definition of shady. So, yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I am going to sit behind that table with a coffee mug with your sign saying, change my mind.
Yeah, I mean, the lightsaber color purple definitely seems to hold a certain stigma to it now, for sure. I will say that I don't consider Mace Windu shady. I consider him like, he was pretty by the book, you know, like he was like when they brought Anakin in, he's too old. No, we're not going to take you. You're too old. Buy the book. And the one time the dude didn't go by the book, when he was like, nope, we just have to kill this dude. He's too dangerous. He got God. And it's like, you can't be mad at him. Like, he's doing things the way that he should be doing them. and I get it because it's Sam Jackson and he's got his own like.
He's got that built-in prickiness, I mean, it's just
he does.
Even what he did to Dooku in Tales of the Jedi. I mean, he's just a fucking manipulative scuzz. I don't know. I don't like him.
I get it for sure.
So do you agree with him, or you think purple lightsabers are okay?
I think that purple lightsabers almost like because of the characters that have used them, they almost have this air of like pompousness.
It's blue mixed with red, right? I mean, come on, light and dark. Like, here we go.
Like purple is a color of royalty, like that is the color of the high
the regalness.
Esteem. Yeah, so those that whip a purple lightsaber almost have that like I am greater than those around me type of feel to them.
Oh fuck, man! Look at B-Mad. You don't love Windu. You love Sam Jackson. Stop it,
dude. I like Windu too, man. I'm with B-Mad. I think that he deserves a comeback.
Oh, no. As I'm sitting here shit talking that motherfucker, for some reason I bought his Hot Toys, but not Qui-Gon Jinn. Like who the fuck is? What's wrong with me? Huh?
There you go.
What is wrong with me?
I've been on the bring back Windu train.
All right. Okay. Remember, no one's ever truly gone in Star Wars except Jackie and Yord, as we saw this week.
Yeah,
how do you like that? I mean, they spent like 10 seconds on dead Jackie's body. It's like, dude, by the way, there's fucking purple face Yord too.
Yeah,
love it, man. I'm on I got toy thoughts going through my head. I think your top 5 was great. I'm surprised you didn't snag the Marco's custom Stranger figure shots. Holy shit.
I almost picked that one out. I had that one open.
For those, this really in the weeds real quick. And those for in the know, 16J on Instagram, he's a 16 customizer. He too has busted out his Stranger and it's fucking choice. So, all right. Back to Ask Us Anything. Coming in from Baron's Black Series. Was that a cortosis vein in Kamir's room? Thought it was dangerous to mine. Explosive. Okay. He's been hitting me with the definition of cortosis all day to like rub my nipples here and get me worked up. Yes, it was a vein of cortosis. And no, if you read the snippet you sent to me, it's when it's in its like particle form that it can really start fucking people up. So, and in the end, can we just like quit pretending Star Wars sci-fi is like real life science, everyone? Like, come on.
But I mean, yeah, it's a cortosis vein that leads us to believe that the planet that they are on, even though it's listed as an unknown planet, is the planet Baldemnik, which actually feeds right back into Legends.
Right.
Like Baldemnik, cortosis, and the Sith all lead right into the Plagueis novel from Legends.
100.
So there, I mean, like, yes, cortosis can be dangerous. Specifically, there's a lot of danger when you are transporting it after it's being mined, and there's a lot of danger when, like, it can be dangerous when you're mining it if you don't know how to do it. But obviously, it seems like Kamir is pretty familiar with this.
I mean, we're going to get into the Legends lore about, was it Baldalmenica or whatever, like the Dominican Republic? What's it called? Baldemnik.
Baldemnik.
Yeah, Baldemnik. We'll get into it, but let's just say Darksiders like to go there and dig the shit out of the walls and fuck shit up. So
yeah, dude. I mean, if you're an old school Legends person,
you should have a boner,
dude. This is like your episode.
I've had to expose myself to more Star Wars Legends than I ever wanted to because of this show. I mean, we are fully into DP's novel at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Baldemnik, cortosis,
or at least things referenced in his novel.
Even like opening up possibilities on who Kamir could be, even dips into possibilities from the Plagueis novel. Like
double outcast, calling it.
You know, it's very interesting the direction that Leslie and the writers have chosen to take this series, because like for somebody who's a fan of Legends, who's actively reading the Plagueis novel, I'm like, oh my god, like this is coming. Like, granted, it's not the whole novel; it's the beginning parts of the novel, but like this is coming straight from the Plagueis novel.
And
Like-
kudos to Connor for tipping me. I mean, I woke up this morning. He just said, Bal Dalmenica. Look it up. I looked it up. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I got you now. And I was like, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
check. Still not going to read the fucking book, but check. Okay. Got it. It sunk into this thick head of mine. Don't worry. All right. What the hell were we doing? Questions. That's right. Okay.
Question.
I think we got through those. All right.
We
thanks,
finished them
Spencer.
all.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Listen, like, yeah, sure, he could blow up, but he's smarter than that. So there we go.
And also, we don't know if he's mining that vein that's literally
exactly.
where he's sleeping, anything like that. But like, it's not going to explode just because it's sitting in the wall.
All right, there we go. See, that's what we're here for, Nick. We answer all types of questions. Okay, let's go ahead and switch gears back to the browser here. And real quick, before we fully dive into this episode, a few things of note here. First, just straight pop culture. You know, listen, we're all probably doing this or listening to this because we're fans of trilogies. Depending on your age, a trilogy probably made you a fan of Star Wars. Who knows which trilogy it is? I assume most people that listen to us, it's probably the OT with a strong contingent of PTers now. Because the PTers, if you think it, Nick, I mean, they're in their late 20s and 30s now. I mean, they're all grown up. They're all grown up, those little prequel lovers. But anyways, speaking of trilogies, it's very rare to get a great trilogy from start to finish. Star Wars is an example. It's hard to say it about The Matrix, right? You can't really say that, even though, you know, you'll watch them all, but it's still like, eh. Lord of the Rings, sure, great trilogy. Hobbit, not so much. So it is. It's hard to think of really solid trilogies. And I'm telling you, we have one right now, thanks to John Krasinski and this new guy that took on A Quiet Place Day One, which is a prequel to the 2 previous Quiet Place movies. And as I'm saying, it is a sound, solid, worthwhile trilogy at this point in time. This prequel adds a nice little origin for the aliens and kind of how New York and the surrounding areas had to account for it. And it's not so much a horror movie, Nick. I don't know if you watch any of The Quiet Place. It is a thriller. It gets tense. But these movies, this trilogy, it's really about humanity, and what people have to do when the apocalypse is upon them. So if you've been a fan of the other 2 Quiet Places and you kind of want to see where things originated, this is great. Maz Kanata kills it. She plays like a dying cancer patient, which sets up some interesting scenarios for the end of the world. So really good stuff there. Quiet Place Day One. Check it out.
Yep.
All right. You blowing up any fireworks, Nick? Do you get into that shit or no?
Like, usually not for a 4th.
Okay.
Like, when I was growing up, we did big fireworks for the New Year's celebration.
Got ya. Let's just say I've spent a fair amount of money this year. We went down last night for the second run at Phantom Fireworks because they were literally offering a $300 item for $80.
Nice.
60-gram mortars, 24 of them. So I'm like, well, yeah, you got that. That's everyone's got to shoot that in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So I'm excited. I think we're gonna do a little pre-show tonight after this show.
Off.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, we got one. We got a repeater called the Popo Magnet. Yeah, Popo Magnet. I love it. Anyway, sorry about that, people. I don't know. That's like one of my favorite things about July 4th is blowing shit up. Okay. I thought I had a nice quote pulled up for us before we get into our breakdown of the Acolyte E6 Teach Corrupt. But I screwed it up when I shrunk my screen here. Oh, it was about... Anyways, you know how last week Nick and I, we were spitting a lot of theory about the use of Kylo Ren's theme in that episode. It popped up again this week during the credits. You know, obviously, you can also hear Anakin's theme when Kamir's around, Palpatine's theme. He's got all the shit mixed in with him. But... I think someone at Inverse. Oh, here it is. Someone at Inverse was asking Leslie Headland, the creator, hey, what? Basically say, hey, in that same vein, there are bits of Kylo Ren theme that play throughout the episode. Can you speak to that connection, or is that something we have to wait and see? And Leslie's like, wish I could. It is there on purpose, but I can't tell you why, and I can't go into what it is, but you shall see. Okay?
I love it, man. I love. Here's one thing that I have really enjoyed about this series is that every week after the episode, I'm sure that they, Leslie just did a very long interview with EW prior to the release, and the person who was doing the interview had already seen the whole show. But I like how they're releasing these episode specific articles after each one.
Yep.
And Leslie is there giving you more context.
Very specific too. Like as far as she can go without going blah 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 blah.
Yeah. And this one specifically speaks to a little a reel that we put out yesterday, which was, is Khmer a Sith Lord? Is Khmer a Knight of Ren progenitor, or is he something else? And I think that, this Leslie may be hinting to, he could be a little bit of both,
Mm-hmm.
He could be a little bit of both. And
did you know a lot of people, Nick, did not know that Kylo was not a Sith?
I'm pretty sure that was mentioned in the films. They never called him a Sith. Yeah. And I do think that it was specifically brought up either by JJ or somebody else, maybe even Ryan, saying that he's not a Sith.
Yeah, a lot of people are convinced that unless you, and by people I'm talking to a lot of the intelligent commenters out there, they're very upset that if you don't identify as Sith or Jedi, then you can't be powerful in the Force. It's
that's just not how it is.
That's what Khmer's trying to tell us. He's like, no, the Jedi actually mute your power based on their rules.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are different about this show, and there's a lot of things that are remarkably consistent to both Legends and canon in this show. I'm very intrigued by the character of Khmer, because I think if we are right, if our speculation is right when we get to it, then Leslie has done something super interesting with this character.
Mm-hmm. That should leave pure prime George Lucas touch canon alone, if not enhance it. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's the one thing when we get into all this stuff and the Legends infusion that we now think is happening. The one not Legends character is Plagueis, even though he has a lot of his story told in Legends. And the reason I say that is because Plagueis is introduced first in Revenge of the Sith, so he is George Lucas fucking canon.
Yeah, 100%.
And Nick, you gotta correct me if I'm wrong. Was he a Mun or immune even in Lucas's mind?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the one thing that if the maker himself has identified this person as a mune, they got it. I think we can't fuck with that. I'm okay with them fucking with Legends, the Kiadi nonsense. That who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But the one thing with DP, I don't think you can change his race. And I don't necessarily think that's who Khmer is. And we're going to get into this a lot more. But that's the one thing that would make even me feel a little itchy. And me, I'm pretty accepting of some of these Legends changes that have been incorporated not only in this show, but other Star Wars live action.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that one, he's skewing a little too young for me to be Plagueis even at this point.
Well, too old. I mean, shouldn't Plagueis only be about 15 or something technically?
I guess it depends on.
It's not even the age for me, Nick.
Aging,
go ahead and fudge age. To me, I feel like DP is the one character we can't change his species.
Yeah, it's I know it wasn't established in canon because he was never seen anywhere, but it was pretty clear from the Plagueis novel that he's a Mun, he's a Moon, he's a whatever. He was the head of the banking clan.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if you knew if George himself identified him as Mun back in 2005.
Okay, so directly from George, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to go back.
Either way, research. George canonized the character that night through the story of his murder. So
yes.
To me, out of most of these characters that have been fleshed out in Legends, DP has always had one toe in George canon, and I that's the stuff I don't feel like we can fuck with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Lots of speculation here in the chat. Josu pointing out that there's another actor, like the actor that I think you mentioned last week.
Dave Harwood. You know what, man? He also looks like a great Senator Raincourt too.
Good. He could
you know
be
what I mean?
Senator Raincourt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know the chat's flying now that we've got into this, so we might as well just start doing it, Nick. Let's, as we always do here, if you're new, Nick and I both give kind of our 2 cents take on the episode, and then after that, you never know where we're going to go. We'll hit some top moments, we'll hit some eggs references, we'll hit some ha's, some some oohs. You just guys stick around, ask some questions, and see where things go. All right, buddy, how'd we feel?
It was so... I enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed the seeds being planted in this episode. It was definitely a slowdown, an expected slowdown from the last one. I mean, I don't know how you could potentially pick up the pace in comparison to the last episode. But it was a slowdown, and it was kind of an episode focused on the twins, where they are in their like heads and how they're approaching their new situations, and I think the most interesting one for me was definitely Osha. Her willingness to stay unpressured by Kamir. Like Kamir had from the moment that
he's like Kamir, kill me, go ahead, kill me.
It's like, you can kill me, like standing right so there good. With the blade.
What a seducer.
Even just told her, like, look, ship's over there. If you want to leave, start swimming. You can get there before sundown, and you can head out. Like,
he's so cool. Speaking of Kamir, real quick, Nick, I don't want to cut you off, but Will the Force coming in with a super chat. Speaking of the guy you're talking about, thank you, Will. Don't have too many complaints with the Acolyte, but the more I see Kamir on screen, the more I wish we'd been focused on him from the jump.
I mean, I can't argue with that, Will, for sure. Like, it is, man, like. The character, how Manny Jacinto has played it, and just the intrigue and mystery, and in the even as a viewer, you watch Kamir and you can't help but be kind of seduced by him, right?
Damn Skippy, I'm ready to make out with the guy, and I'm straight.
Like, he's just shooting straight from the hip, and he's not trying, it seems like he's not trying to really like convince you of anything. He's like, look,
he's perfect.
I'm doing these things for my own reasons. The way that I am is because of the experiences that I've had in my life, and those experiences may very well be as a Jedi Padawan or as a Jedi trainee who was kicked out of the Order, and as a Sith acolyte that was also expelled from whatever relationship that he was in with his Sith Lord. He may truly be a person, an outcast of both sides, as you said earlier.
Yeah, Nick, and we'll dive deeper into that maybe at some point. Yeah, well, not maybe, we will. Just depends on when I feel like getting into it. But yeah, I mean, he's just so cool, and that's why right now on the live stream I got him out there with his shirt off for everyone to enjoy. Look at that. Man, he did. I mean, he put some fucking work into this role, and it's showing. I mean, it definitely showed last week in the physical side, but it's been showing throughout this series that this dude put everything into this character. I mean, he's been quoted jokingly saying, like, hey, if this is my last role ever, I'm good. Like,
yeah,
I'm good.
And he's been absolutely crushing it. Like, he's been absolutely killing it. And I love the character that they've built here with Kamir. And I really love that there is so much intrigue and mystery surrounding this character, and so much more to learn about him. And like you said, after every episode ends of this series, I'm like, give me more. Like, I'm ready. Like, hit me with the next one. And I do think that for the last couple episodes, it's definitely been around Kamir and his backstory and where he is and why, he's in the position that he's in.
Well, and, I mean, like he told her, and this could play into his double outcast theory, he did not feel truly free until he lost everything.
Yeah.
Is that losing his real family, his Jedi family, and his Sith family? I don't know, but lots to talk about this dude. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looking at my notes here when I first saw. I mean, clearly not as energetic, frenetic, and exciting as we saw over the past 2 weeks, but that was kind of to be expected. I mean, I really felt like this episode had some really stellar character moments. Something I don't think this series has really had or really had the time to do. I mean, if you think about it, this episode was all about redefining the perspectives of the twins through their broken, in quotes, new masters. I mean, you could argue Kamir is very broken. Saul clearly is fucked in the head. Like, this dude is spiraling further and further into his own Jedi code hell that who knows, like, he may beg Osha to kill him by episode 8. So I really appreciated the character moments we got here. In particular, Osha and Kamir. I mean, just every scene was dynamic. It was engaging. You just wanted to listen to him talk. And as we've heard from Nick and some people in the chat, seduce. I mean, I know Leslie said, hey, you know, that whole line Obi-Wan said to Luke, like Vader was seduced by the dark side, and she was going to try to portray that. And oh my God, did we get that 10 times over from Kamir?
Yeah.
I mean, Nick, you have to argue that Kamir is just as good, if not better, at dark side seduction than Sheev Palpatine himself.
Dude, because he's not making promises.
Right.
He's not.
Yeah, there you go. You made my point for me. You're exactly right. He's not like putting thoughts in her head like, hey, Osha, if you join me, you will get this. He's literally just saying, I'm me. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. You do what you need to do.
Yeah, like he's not trying to convince her to stay. He is literally just like, I have my own story, which has led me here. And whether you want to be a part of it or not, I don't care. You can go. But I don't,
it's very seductive. And we'll get into it in some of the top moments. But I mean, there at times you're like, these two are she's either going to cut his head off or fuck him.
Yeah. It's like, it's so in between because it's like for somebody like the only time that I really enjoy how they've written him, like the soft manipulative character that he is now, because it's so different than the type of manipulation that we've seen from Sith characters in the past. Like we've seen a ton of different like Sith characters in the past, whether they be legends or whether they be canon. And like, there's never been one that's kind of been played like this, you know, where it's like, you know, Sheev is always the one promising more power, and like I can teach you something that you've never known before.
It's a very astute point, dude.
And like this level, this type of manipulation is so powerful because he's not telling Osha that she can learn anything from him. What he's doing is saying, I have my reasons for being the way that I am. And if you want to hate me for that, I totally understand it. But if you want to try to really understand
yourself,
why I am, like why I am the way that I am and why you're having the feelings that you're having, then we can explore that together. Mm-hmm. And I'll help you explore that. But I'm not going to force you to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, dude, even with the helmet, he's like, hey, trust yourself, put it on, see what happens. It's not like it's not a test like Yoda was testing Luke go in that fucking cave. It's not a test like Palpatine testing Vader. It's more of a challenge, but it's done in a way that he's like, do it or don't do it. I don't give a fuck. If you want to cut my head off, you can do that too. Yeah,
because like ultimately it's like Kamir's like, I just love how he's being played. And like, you know, B-Matt saying Kamir's just being honest. Like that could very well be true. Yeah. Like I think up to this point, he hasn't told Osha a lot yet.
No.
And granted, he's been very vague about things. Like he's not being very detailed in his explanation.
Well, yeah. For example, when she's like, oh, your Jedi master did that to you. He doesn't say yes or no.
He doesn't say anything.
Right.
Like, you know, like he's not giving her everything, but he's giving her enough for her to be intrigued.
Oh yeah.
Enough to stay.
Yeah. And like I said, that's the highlight of this episode. The only other note I have before we get into some of the top moments and more of the nitty gritty is the one thing I I felt like the Soul and May stuff was kind of useless because we really got no progression over there outside of probably the finest acting performance I've ever seen in any Star Wars. So that was fantastic. But really the goalposts moved nowhere on the Soul mystery front. So that main thread just kind of sat stagnant. Not a huge deal, but I did note that.
I think the biggest thing from that particular instance was Soul was ready to go back to the High Council. He's like, it's fucking time. We gotta go.
Yeah, like he's breaking even. But then he's like, but once he knew it was May, he's like, no.
As soon as he knew it was May, he was like,
oh fuck,
nope. Yeah, I can't go back.
But dude, he ends up like locking her up. He's like, you're gonna fucking listen to me, bitch.
That was another thing that I wanted to bring up, dude, because I think that is such a big thing and so important.
Well, you heard what he said, right? He's like, I've thought 16 years about what I'd say if I ever saw you again, and you're gonna sit here and listen to it, young lady.
But it's just like, if you look at the Darksider versus the Lightsider and how they're treating the two people on their side. Like Kamir is like, you're here, Osha, but you can leave whenever you want. I'm not going to try to bullshit you.
Good point. And this guy's locking her up.
and Soul, the Jedi Master, has this child who has been manipulated by the dark side. And what does he do as soon as he finds out that he has May? He stuns her and then locks her up. Like, look at the juxtaposition between the two sides. Like Soul is working purely out of fear. Oh, yeah. Like, he is so afraid of May and what she could do and what she could mean to his future that he has locked up a child. and
maybe, Kamir, like a teen, maybe teen, early 20s.
Yeah, and like Kamir is a Darksider who knows that he has somebody in his clutches
and lets her have his weapon.
Yeah, that wants to kill him, and he's just like, you know what?
Fuck it.
It's like, I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, you do you, I'll do me.
It's just the juxtaposition.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, it's like Kwaku's saying here, Kamir is honest, Soul withholds information. Huh? Yeah, I mean that's exactly what Nick's saying. So
because it's the fear of repercussions. It's the fear of what will happen to him if people find out what really happened on Brendok. And it's not just the fear of what really happened on Brendok. It's something specifically tied to May. And
the twins. I mean, who knows? I mean, while we're on Soul, I mean, hell, we can go back to really the beginning. Soul, and listen, there was comms issues, which, again, people, this is them tipping the hat to everyone going, hey, look, this is why the Jedi Order as a whole didn't know about this shit. Soul was having comms issues, and even without the comms issues, did you notice he's about to say, everyone died. Instead of saying, we ran into a red lightsaber, wagon motherfucker, he stops himself. And then, the comms fully go out. And then as Nick said, he's like, oh, I'm going to turn myself in. And then May happens and he's completely back to, nope, got to cover this shit up some more. It's time to have a talk with a hostage.
Yeah. I mean, it was, even though this episode was slow, I think the intrigue and I think the juxtaposition of the two points of view that you were seeing it from made this episode really interesting, and it really made me excited to see the next one.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be flashback heavy, right? Because it's probably going to pick up with his conversation to May. I just hope it's not like episode 3 where the whole thing is in the past. I do want to check in on Osha and Kamir at some point, so maybe the end is them kind of crash fighting their way back to Brendok, which is clearly where everyone is headed.
Yeah.
Just there, and I kind of hate myself for this, and there's only snippets, but if you do want to look at remaining footage that has not been seen, head out to Reddit Star Wars leaks. There's some clips in there where it's pretty clear where this thing's going in the final showdowns and whatnot. So that's up to you to go ahead and fuck with. As soon as I saw some things, I'm like, I'm moving on. All right, I've seen it once or twice before. I don't need to see it again because now it's becoming a little too more fleshed out and real, where I can start to see the breadcrumbs leading to those scenes. Okay, Saul literally can't tell the own order that They ran into a dude with a red lightsaber who said that we would call him a Sith. Hell, even when they're on their way to rescue him, right? They're like, "Hey, dude, keep your transponder on." He's like, "No, click." And he takes off as soon as they come in. Unbelievable.
So, I mean, lots of questions rolling in. What do you think Vernestra knows? What do you think Soul did to May?
Let's take it. We might as well. I mean, we'll get the top moments and eggs down the road, but yeah, let's run with the first one, Nick. What does Vernestra truly know?
Okay. I think that Vernestra is largely in the dark about the entirety of the Brendok situation.
Yes.
I think that Vernestra knows to some degree that whatever happened on Brendok is shady. Like there are uncomfortable things that happened on Brendok with the Four. I think she's aware of that, but I don't think she knows the full story. I think that by what she has seen on KOFOR, I think that she knows a Darksider is involved. Like I think that like more than anybody who was physically there during the fight and perished, she can look at this scene. She has looked at this scene and knows a Darksider is involved. And that's why her line was something to tip the scales or something, something of that nature.
This is the second time she said it, though, so I'm going to take it a step further. I think she, out of any of the Jedi, for whatever reason, and it could be her connection to Kamir's past, her being his former master, I think she's had a feeling or has had a vision, and I'll speak more on her vision capabilities in a second, that the dark side is rising and someone is trying to tip the scales, and it may be connected to her past through Kamir. So let me speak to you on the vision stuff, because I mean they made a clear point to bring this up, and this comes from the High Republic novels. If you remember the moment when goofy-ass Jedi Mog, how about that guy?
That guy.
Is like, oh, Master Ro, you know, do you really want to go? Hyperspace kind of fucks with you and makes you sick. And she's like, it doesn't make me sick. And if you know what she's talking about, and you know the lore behind this character, when Vernestra goes through hyperspace, sometimes she has very intense force visions that actually transport her like to the location almost. So one could now speculate that they've made that known in this show, that at some point in time during a trip, maybe she had visions of her former Padawan Kamir Breaking Bad. Maybe even when they were on the trip to KOFOR, she saw the entire fucking thing go down.
Yeah.
But this is not the first time she said tipping the scales. So I think her saying it this time, Nick, is her confirming to herself, like, yeah, it's starting to happen. This past vision I've had, this fear of my former, in quotes, maybe apprentice or Padawan Kamir Breaking Bad, it's starting to come true. So I really think Vernestra has had an inkling about the dark side resurgence longer than anyone else. I agree with Nick. She didn't know really jack shit about Brendok. I think her connection to all this is going to be through Kamir, who I believe was her Padawan, as he said, a real long time ago, because we know Vernestra is well into her hundreds at this point in time. And Nick, why would he make a point to say, not just long ago, a really long time ago?
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. It depends on how much of this lore you want to dip into, because if you really want to go deep into like Sith legends, history, lore, there is a possibility that Kamir as an entity could be hundreds of years old.
Well, yeah, we know the path to the dark side can lead to many unnatural things, right? So
exactly. And like specifically for those of you who are familiar with legends, what I'm talking about is essence transfer. Essence transfer is something that Darth Bane was just committed to figuring out. Essence transfer is the way of transferring essentially your soul and being from one body to another.
Well, Vitiate was really good at that, right?
Vitiate was, yes. Vitiate had mastered that.
Yeah, because he passed on for hundreds of years, right? All the way up till he was that Emperor Valkorian dude.
Valkorian,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So like that part of Sith lore and history from the Old Republic and from Legends canon could be in play here. I don't know, but Khmer, as you see him now, may just be a new body for him, and the person that Khmer is could be much older.
Well, it begs the question then: why focus on the scars?
Yeah, why focus on the scar? But still, like that's a possibility, or
For sure.
like there are other ways that you could extend your own life.
I mean, come on.
You know?
Well, I mean, like Joe Sue was saying, maybe Khmer learned to stay young through Plagueis, maybe through the witches, and Plagueis is the one that steals it from Khmer and the witches.
Yeah, exactly. It could definitely be from the witches. We know that like witchcraft in Star Wars has a lot of possibilities behind it that it's like straight up like Jedi use of the Force doesn't. I mean, we saw them give fucking Darth Maul new legs. Like,
I mean, dude, they gave Savage fucking the Force essentially. At least made him use it better.
Somehow Ventress was resurrected.
There you go.
So there's a lot of possibilities. Tying
it all back to Vernestra, I'm with Quiku, however you say that. Sorry, we're stupid. But yeah, it's just like I do think Vernestra knows more about this Khmer character. So her shadiness is via Khmer. Soul shadiness is the twins in Brendok.
Yes, 100%.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and it could be misdirect, Nick, but it did seem very odd that right from the get-go we get this guy nude to see his lashed back, and then we purposely have her whipping one of those Umbra Moss to show that, hey, if you have a Padawan acting up or trying to get away, you're kicking him out, or you have a falling out, he could get some whips on his way out the door. So, again, like I think B-Mad's saying in here, a Sith Master could have done the same thing. Few shots of lightning, maybe some of Tenebriss's red lightning, maybe a slash here or there. It does really feel now, even more than last week, especially with Leslie saying, yeah, that Kylo shit's not just for us being cute, that he could very well be a double outcast, and he's just like, he's trying to start his own thing.
I mean, one thing that Matt and I were speculating about, and those of you who have read the Plagueis book know this character, but there's a possibility if Leslie is really dipping deep into the Plagueis lore that Khmer could be a version of Darth Venomous, and Darth Venomous was one of Tenebriss's. He was Tenebriss's other apprentice.
Yeah, so we know Ten is okay with fucking with the rule of two. That's one thing.
100% okay with it. But there's a possibility that he could be Venomous, because after Plagueis kills Tenebriss, or like kills him, sets up his death on Bal Demnik via a cave-in, he hunts down and finds Venomous, who was the other apprentice to Tenebriss, who was also vying for this new position as the one Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yeah.
And then Plagueis eventually finds him and cuts him down. So is it possible that this version of Venomous that Khmer is playing somehow survived the encounter with Plagueis in the woods?
Well, they may not have even had it yet. That's the thing.
Yeah, they could have not had it.
If she's running with the Plagueis Legends lore, from what I know, Nick, and I'm stupid, I don't read words and shit. I've been told DP should only be around like 15, 16 at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the age. I'd have to like.
Everyone keeps saying it's 100 years before TPM, but if you read it, it's actually 100 years before the. It's
before the fall of the Empire, right?
Right. So it's about 80.
Or like the fall of the Republic. It's like 80.
Yeah, years. I think it's around 80. But that's still a fuck ton of time. So you would think DP is either super young at this point in time or not, not well into his years. But
I mean, canon wise, they don't list his birth, like when he was born.
Right. But what I'm saying, like, and I know we brought this up before, Khmer as DP to me is the worst thing we could do.
Yeah, no, I don't think that he
Khmer
will be
as
Plagueis.
Khmer as venomous is like the second worst thing because you're still changing a species even though it's not real canon. Why give the fucktards ammunition in my mind? Like at this point in time, why rile up the ding dongs when you could just make a new character and just say, yeah, he was a fucking apprentice of Tenebris too, because it's already established in not real canon that Tenebris has no problem cultivating multiple apprentices at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, right now,
and he's outcasted from what we know. Like he may have already had his falling out with Tenebris.
Yeah, it could be for sure. He could have. But yeah, I mean, right now in canon, there is no established birth date for Darth Plagueis.
All right.
His established death date is 32 BBY.
Yeah, and it's like, as I said earlier, it's not so much his age. It's, I think, changing DP's species would be problematic.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. He's not Darth Plagueis for sure. He's not Darth Plagueis because even by canon, like even in canon now, he's still a Mun, whatever. Muun. He's one of those. He's the banking clan species.
All right. Well, just
he's
question for you. Do you want him to be brand new or would you like him to be a revised Venomous?
I would like it if he was either one of those. I think would be fine because I think that Darth Venomous was such kind of a throwaway character in Legends that like wasn't really heavily focused on, at least in stuff that I read. I didn't read everything in Legends. I read a lot, but I didn't read everything. So I don't know how deep his lore goes in that.
It's just another one of those deals where it's like, you know, all the neckbeards will be coming out. And like, if I was a writer and I knew my shit, do I want to do that? I don't know. Like when you could just make a new character and be like, here we go.
Yeah. And like, if they did decide that this is going to be our version of Venomous, how cool would that be to be like, okay, you were both a Jedi trainee in Padawan and a Sith apprentice, outcast from both, and what do? You decide that I'm going to establish something for myself and not be the person that is chasing down this Sith apprenticeship or something else. Like really establishing yourself as a new paradigm that will eventually morph into what the Knights of Ren become. Mm-hmm. I think that's a super cool avenue for a character.
Yeah, because it kind of, it can not only enhance our prime dark side or lore, Sith lore, you know, Plagueis into Sheev, but it'll also enhance lore that needs enhanced, the sequel trilogy. So
yeah, exactly.
And if it's done in a creative and correct way, it's going to be awesome. Like that'll now be a what? Fuck, dude! Like a 140 plus through line now up to the sequels. So I'm all about that type of lore building there. And I listen. I would love for Khmer just to be Khmer, and he's his own thing. He's doing his own thing, and if that is the case, Nick, I really do think we end up with him either having this splinter group or losing it. OSHA takes it over something, but it'll be clear that this guy was not Sith, not Jedi. He was something new. Yeah,
for sure. Like I love the direction that the character is going in though right now. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. All right. So we nailed some of that stuff. Hopefully everyone is excited about our stupid thoughts. All right. Well, I guess until something else pops up, we might as well start working through some of the top moments. And I'm going to go right to one right off the bat. And I know people probably think I do get paid by Disney or I just say stuff to get a rise out of people. And it is funny how both my videos that kind of compared Acolyte to the Phantom Menace blew up for us because, you know, that raged some motherfuckers. I don't care what anyone says about this show, about the people. You can't watch that scene with Lee Jung-jae when he's trying to reset the comms and tell me that dude didn't just give the best acting performance in all of Star Wars. I mean, he didn't have to speak a fucking line, and you could feel the weight of his sins just crushing his soul. You can feel that, you know, the loss of his Padawan, the loss of Osha, or he thinks Osha, the loss of all the other Jedi that were with him. Then the guilt of him lying for 16 years about Brendok. It all came to a head in that scene. And this gentleman didn't speak a single line, just used emotes. And it is literally, outside of Luthen Rael's monologue, which is cheating because he had words, I can't really name a better acted scene in all of Star Wars.
I mean,
changed my mind.
It was powerful. It was super powerful, and it was enhanced as because you're watching the show, and you're seeing him slowly degrade mentally.
Dude, he needs to go get some fucking help.
Yeah, it's just the weight of everything. And I'm sure before this, he had 16 years of sitting on what he knew happened at Brendok, but not having to confront it. So he was able to deal with it. It wasn't in his face. It wasn't causing him problems. And he had seemingly thought that okay, Osha is off outside of the Jedi Order, living her own life now. May is dead. If he really did think that, we'll see. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And all of this has come crashing down within a matter of days, and his world and his life have been torn apart little by little. And now, not only has he lost the one person that he was truly trying to protect, because I really do think that he's trying to protect Osha.
Oh, he loves her. I mean, he was hugging May, and May's like, "Get off me, you creep."
Yeah.
You remember? And by the way, everyone how does Saul not notice it? Did you see how broken this guy was?
I was going to say, the way that he is mentally destroyed,
right.
Is going to throw off his perception in every way possible.
We already know, when Force users are depressed, the shit breaks. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Yoda. I mean, this is all precedent. So, wow, listen, like I said earlier, the Soul and May stuff, to me, that was the drag of the episode until he really went nuts and locked her up, Silence of the Lambs style. But it's very clear that I just lost my train of thought. So keep going, Nick.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's this guy, that's been one of my favorite things to follow in the series so far, is watching him mentally degrade, watching him fall apart as everything around him falls apart. And honestly, there was no other way that he could have reacted after what just happened. He lost not only his Padawan, but he lost
8 other Jedi.
Eight other Jedi to one combatant, and then also allowed one of the twins to be taken, which he didn't know at the time was Osha, by this combatant, by this dark side Force user, and is also trying to he's trying to deal with the fact of how do I deal with this? Because if I try to confront this head up, I'm fucking toast. There's no way that I get out of this unscathed. Mm-hmm. Whether it be expulsion from the Jedi Order or whatever else, because
dude, it sounds like he's probably going to get locked the fuck up. Not that he's going to have a chance to kind of pay his dues, because I think he's toast. But
yeah, at minimum, he gets expelled from the Jedi Order and probably jailed, and at worst, he gets executed. It's just, he is in an impossible situation to deal with, and it shows in those scenes. Those scenes were kind of lackluster for sure. I definitely agree that the Khmer and Osha side was more interesting, but the reason that side was not interesting is because Soul is essentially catatonic.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's in a coma right now, a trauma coma. So
he is fucked so hard mentally that he can't, the second that he sees May, who he still thinks is Osha, walk into the cabin, he literally just grabs her and hugs her because he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
A Jedi would never do that in a proper mental state.
No, that's way too much emotion showing, dude. I mean, come on. Look, I think even May, I got a picture. May's what? This is kind of creepy, dude. Don't touch me.
What are you doing? He is literally broken beyond repair. So like, while it wasn't interesting in terms of like
Right.
the narrative being moved
It
forward,
needed to be shown.
yeah, like there's a reason that that the narrative wasn't moved forward because he wasn't mentally capable of processing anything that just happened.
But he is by the end because he is ready to tell his story, and she has to listen whether she wants to or not. Love it. You know, talking about Soul, and I know we briefly mentioned this, but why do you think he killed the transponder and then got out of Dodge and went rogue? I mean, he knows Vernestra knows that some of his baggage, or is it at this point, Nick, like he feels so fucking guilty because no one truly knows the real that he's just like, nope, this is for me to finish.
I think it's part of that, and it's also part of he knows like his sole mission this whole time is keep OSHA safe, and he has now figured out. Oh yeah,
you're right. Because he's like, May, we got a lot of stuff to do. Like he literally is gaslighting his hostage at the end. He's like, hey, May, we got to go save OSHA, but first, I've been saving this for 16 years, and you're gonna listen, young lady.
Yeah,
so
you're gonna.
You are. Yeah, you are right. Like he's still hyper focused on got to get my girl.
Yeah, like he of two minds. Like he's not going back to the High Council because he's not going to bring May back to the High Council.
Right.
Because everybody thinks May's dead.
Well, yeah. Like you said, that's what changed his mind. I mean, he was when he thought May was OSHA, he was ready to.
He was like
kind of atone for his sins, but once he realized, nope, I still don't have my girl. Mission's not over yet, people. Transponder off. Like, we out.
Yeah, and he's got to deal with it himself because he's still trying to hide the fact that a Darksider is around. And that's probably pressure from Vernestra herself. Like Vernestra is less willing to show cracks in the Jedi Order right now than anyone else. And Soul knows that. But from the very first episode, when Vernestra tells Soul that we have pressure, we have political pressure on us, and we have to be careful about how the order is being
and it was reinforced this episode when she's literally talking to Senator Chudwa, that was his name, and he's like, "Hey, heads up, this Raincourt dude is trying to make his name for himself by going after you guys, and he's going to review the entire order. But hey, you guys are always so fucking honest, nothing to worry about." And she's like, "Yeah, right, dude. Fuck you. We in deep shit."
Yeah. So I think that's why, like, he has so much pressure, not only from his own deeds that he's dealing with, but also knowing that the one twin that he was trying his hardest to protect is now in the worst hands possible. And the fact that he's got external pressure on him from Vernestra to not show cracks in the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
This dude is like,
yeah, you're right. Just too much pressure.
What can he do?
Hey,
like,
now I'm kind of thinking about it. Do you think Soul's ship issues were purposeful or coincidental?
Wait, say that again? I'm sorry.
Soul's ship throughout the entire fucking episode until just magically it turned back on was having issues. Like first comm issues, then the whole fucking ship shut down. Is Basil or New Pip possibly trying to sabotage shit, or was this just all plot stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I was kind of thinking that before when I was like, okay, like the ship is clearly having trouble. Is it May? Like, is May causing some of these issues to try to, like, you know, it was weird, and I don't know if that'll be like checked out.
I don't think it's gonna be a thing. I honestly think it was just plot convenience to kind of keep him there so we could have the moment where he leaves right when they show up, just to get that story hit.
If you want to talk about Star Wars and plot convenience, I mean, that's been fucking 50 years of storytelling.
I'm not listen, like, I'm not like a lot of these people that look at Star Wars like it's some highfalutin art. I understand exactly what it is, so I'm down. All right. Yeah, that's what I mean. I just, it seems weird that the ship was, the comms aren't working, so the Jedis can't call. I get that. And then the whole fucking thing breaks down just so we can sit a little longer. Who knows? All right. Either way, moving on to the next top moment as we work our way through this. Interesting. I really did. I found this to be an enjoyable episode, and it wasn't because of action or anything. It was just those character moments. So according to Josu and Phil, I have the brain of a 12-year-old, and that's quite all right.
Did I write this when I was 12? Oh, what? With the plot conveniences?
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like.
So, next top moment, we've kind of hit on this a little bit, and it was kind of an extended scene, but in particular, it starts in Kamir's cave, where he starts this really the seduction of Osha and laying down kind of his philosophy, where they're on the beach walking, and he questions why Osha thinks Soul is so strong in the Force when he says, no, you are even stronger. And she said, no, I lost the Force. And he's like, well, that's because the Jedi convince you that if you don't do it their way, you can't tap into it. So he's right there. He's starting to kind of plant the seeds. But then it gets even more intense. The seduction really picks up when they walk out. And he's like, hey, you forgot something. You haven't killed me yet. Like, literally, hey, look, here's my lightsaber. He's sticking it in his own gut. He's like, come on.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And they're literally dancing almost, Nick. Like, he grabs her very sensually, pulls her closer, and essentially goading her. It's like, why do you still think you're a Jedi? Why do you still think you're a Jedi? Why aren't you? Why did you leave? Did you leave, or did they kick you out? And he tells us as the viewers, like, they kicked you out because, just like Luke Skywalker and some other Jedi, they saw your darkness and they were afraid. And it sounds like a very familiar story to Kamir himself, right? Like, yeah. It seems like Kamir and Osha might be very similar type of people and had similar experiences with the Jedi Order. So he's trying to convince her, like, listen, you're not a Jedi. You haven't been a Jedi for a long time. The Jedi are the one that are robbing you of the freedom to use that strong connection to the Force that you have. And they're just going back and forth, camera changing, over shoulder. And then he finally gets her to tap into her anger and feel those raw emotions that he says, listen, you don't need the Jedi code to tap into the Force. You just need your strong emotions of hate, fear, anger, desire.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing that we've never really seen before. Like, we know how the Jedi recruit. Like, we know how the Jedi train, and we know what happens when things go as planned for Jedi. But assuredly, there are Jedi who are recruited that wash out, and you never know what happens to a Jedi washout. Like, they
become a mechanic.
Yeah, like we've never seen anything like that before, so we don't know what happens, and we don't know why Osha was kicked out. Like, but clearly, it could be that they sensed the darkness in her, or that they were already uncomfortable taking her because of her age. Just like with Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker was too old. And what happened to him? Like, the same, like, what happens when these Jedi, or like when these potential candidates come in that are taken, that aren't by the book exactly how they should be? What happens? Do the Jedi not try harder with these candidates to ensure that they are given every possibility? Probably. I mean, who knows? So it's very interesting to see finally Osha admit that I failed. She blames herself for the reason that she's no longer a Jedi. Right. And what was that failure? Was it attachment? Was it attachment to her sister, her family, that were all killed?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because even before they make it out here, if you listen, Kamir says some pretty eye-opening things to her, trying to seduce her and explain to her, like, no, dude, the Jedi way is why you're fucked up. And if you listen, he's like, why do you love Soul? Why were you falling for Jeki? That was always going to be a one-way relationship. They are Jedi. They could never love you the way you love them. I don't know if anyone picked up on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they cannot reciprocate your love. They will never be able to do it.
And his meaning and his pitch and his intent behind that, Nick, was, you can if you embrace it the way I do.
Yeah.
You can be free. Again, like the line we said 10 times. He's like, you will not be truly free until you have lost everything.
Yeah. And it's like, what he's really questioning in her is like, is it worth being a Jedi if you can't be yourself?
Yeah.
You know, like,
you can't love the people you used to love even.
Yeah, like if you can't feel emotion, if you can't have people that you care about and that you feel passion for, whether it be in a platonic way or in a romantic way, like what are you sacrificing to be a Jedi? You are sacrificing yourself. You are sacrificing your personality, your emotions, and really questioning her like, do you want to be a Jedi or do you want to use the Force in a way that is natural to you?
Yeah,
and like
he
that's
was
the
essentially
seduction.
He was telling her, he's like, listen, it's not fair the way you've been treated. You do love these people, but guess what? They can never love you back the same way.
Yeah, it's like that's the seduction of what Kamir
Hell
is
yeah.
saying. It's like you can have the Force, you can still tap into it, and you can be who you are.
Right.
You don't have to do it the Jedi way. You can be you and also be a Force user, which is enough to like intrigue her to a point to where she doesn't just chop this dude's head off when the lightsaber is an inch away from his neck.
She chooses to stay. She chooses to stay here. One other line that I really liked, he said before the lightsaber moment, you know, he's going fear, anger, hate, desire, and Osha's like, hey, that's the path to the dark side. And he goes, that's just semantics. Love it.
Yeah.
He's right. I mean, if people understand what the word semantics mean, it's, yeah, well, that's how the Jedi Order says it. But over here, this is how I say it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, and that is the fucking truth, though. Like, and you know, Nick and I, we've been kicking this football around for a long time, even before the show came out, and how this show would kind of relate to everyone, how the Jedi Order is perceived outside of the Jedi Order. And it's not very favorable. It's clear the Senate thinks they're shitheads. It's clear their own kind think they're shitheads. They're former, they're outcast. They're, you know, volunteers that left like Osha. The Jedi Order, it has its problems, and we are seeing probably the peak of those problems that lead to the fall.
Yeah, and for like just the third, like this is not the first canon Star Wars property that has approached this. Like this isn't the first time that like the problems with public perception of the Jedi Order have been brought up in a canon way. Like this is just the one that people choose to look at and say like, well, we've never seen this before. But that was the entire trilogy. The entire prequel trilogy was an indictment of the Jedi way. You know, the Clone Wars season 7 with the what were the other twins? The
Martez sisters?
The Martez sisters was an indictment of the Jedi Order and how callous they are with the general populace, and why the general populace was so unconcerned about the Jedi not being there after they were wiped out.
Cheered them on. Cheered their genocide on. Like, yay.
Yeah, literally,
Yay.
literally cheered on the downfall of the Jedi Order. Like, this is not a new concept that is being approached. And it's just now it's being done in a way that is like, you see why, and you can see why there are people out there that are like, you know what? There are other ways that you can use the Force. Just look at what we saw in the recent shorts, the Tales of the Empire. Like when you're seeing what happened to all these names are getting
Barriss
mixed up. Barriss, yeah, like Barriss.
She looked like she is 500 years old.
I mean, if you want to talk about a double outcast, look at Barriss. Like
True.
Barriss was a Jedi.
She made her way back to the Jedi, but yeah, she technically would be a double outcast.
But the thing is I don't think she made her way back to the Jedi. She chose not to become a Jedi and to become a Force healer, unconcerned with the Jedi.
There you go.
She found a way outside of it, and she was still killed. And I'll tell you this: if the Jedi were still around and they knew that Barriss had left the Order and was using her Force powers to be a healer outside of their purview, no way. They would not have allowed it. Because they have a problem with these witches doing nothing. And they're using the Force, so it's a problem. But they weren't hurting anybody. They were using it to sustain their own coven. Mm-hmm. But the Jedi have a problem with it. So,
yeah, so I don't know. It's I really dig this guy. And really a question I have for you, Nick. we're clearly seeing the literal seduction of Osha to the dark side. Are we also seeing the figurative seduction of Osha to Kamir's side? Like, do they bond out, or they just become master and apprentice, or apprentice and acolyte?
Yeah, like
does she develop feelings for him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that's kind of where the character's narrative is going. I do
maybe not like love, but would she defend Kamir by episode 8, I guess?
Okay, yeah. In that way, I do think so. I do think that if Kamir lays out his story to her, and I do think that he could be a sympathetic, like lays out his story to her in a way that paints him as a sympathetic figure.
Very similar to her, as I think is what his angle is going to be.
Yeah.
If we get that.
Yeah, then I do think that she will defend him.
All right.
That she will be able to say that, like, this is just a person that's trying to live their life.
And that'll be her full turn. And again, I'm telling you right now, she is going to have a showdown with Saul, and she's taking him out, and he will be unarmed. He will willingly accept death. Yeah. So. All right. Okay, so we hit a few of those. We got the top moments down. Easter eggs, some fun ones here. Maybe we'll spend some time on it here. I mean, really, from the get-go, again, thanks to Connor over Beyond the Dune Sea, and then, I knew Nick would know this shit, but Nick, remember, he's in communique, like excommunique in between shows. Like, he keeps his shit close to his vest. But really, the huge one here, and we have to go with it, these motherfucking little things you saw there, they're not porgs. So this is not Acto, even though a lot of people are still stuck on that. And that's kind of what we thought way back during the trailer. But with all the things we've already talked about, the very clear, let me pull it up, cortosis vein in Kamir's cave, the fact that Kamir dabbles in the dark side, everything we know about this Baal Demnik, this has to be the island. It's even like an island planet. Now, apparently it's supposed to be very environmentally hazardous. I didn't quite see that. I didn't see the Kami native species, which are supposed to be quite murderous and terrible to try and survive with. But it's so very clear that the planet we saw Kamir and Osha on was Baal Demnik, which, as we explained earlier, is a massive location in the Darth Plagueis novel. It plays a huge role in the story of Darth Plagueis. It's how he becomes the master. He actually plots to kill Darth Tenebris on this island in the Cortosis mines. I mean, literally, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. I just read Cliff Note shit. But and you told me something I didn't know, but it sounds like this kind of kicks off the novel here.
Yeah.
Tenebris brings his apprentice Plagueis to Baal Demnik for the intent of jacking the Cortosis. When they're in the mines, the shit gets so unstable, the mine literally collapses. They both have to use the Force to save themselves. And at that moment, Plagueis realizes this is my chance and fucking throws all the rock and debris on Tenebris and then cuts his head off.
So he doesn't do that. Like, he doesn't as outwardly do it that way.
Okay.
He literally, like, it was as underhanded as possible, and he actually like talks to Tenebris as he's dying, I believe, if I remember correctly. I know that somebody in the chat said that they read it too. I think it was Josu. But like he planned for everything that happened to lead to that mine collapse to happen.
Okay.
Like literally like you know, Palpatine style planning. Like, I'm setting all of this shit in motion. I know exactly what's going to happen, and I know this mine's going to collapse, and I know that's what's going to kill him. And he even went so far as to say, like, there was something that distracted Tenebris from this feeling that it was going to happen. So he wasn't aware that it was going to happen, which gave Plagueis time to get out and look like, hey, I'm going to make it. You're just not going to make it. And make it seem like he wasn't the one.
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess the thing I read, it's like Tenebris initially, and maybe Plagueis initially thought that Tenebris was fearing for his life because of the cave coming down, but Plagueis realized that Tenebris was fearing for his life because he knew that Plagueis was going to kill him.
Yeah,
okay.
It was like, so it was like a true long game, like masterful.
Either
type
way,
of play.
either way, it's just so clear that this planet, this location is Baldemnik, and I think that's super exciting. We're bringing legends into canon. We're fleshing things out. We're tying the Cortosis mines right here in canon to a huge player and soon to be canon with Sheev and Darth Plagueis. So I really appreciate those little deep dive lore nuggets that she's digging up.
Yeah. I love how Leslie and the team have incorporated some of this like really like good Legends lore and like bringing things in that were interesting. I'm a huge fan of how that's being incorporated.
Yeah, it's
in
cool.
the show.
It's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. And we've already talked about all the possible connections between Ten, Venomous, Plagueis. Just a quick recap, if you're just dipping in, I think both of us would prefer if Khmer is just Khmer. If we need to make him someone that exists, Venomous fits much better than Plagueis, even though we'd have to have a species change. But outside of that, I think we're both leaning towards Khmer will end up being a new type of thing and possibly being the blueprint, the roadmap, the first ever outcast force user, a.k.a. the Knight, the formation of the Wren.
Yes.
All right. Next Aggie stuff, and this is, we also kind of already went pretty deep into this, but just to remind everyone, the whole nod to Vernestra's hyperspace issues was a tip of the hat to the High Republic, where it's made very clear that she doesn't necessarily get sick. She can have very intense force visions while going through hyperspace. And the fact that they made a point of bringing that up leads me to believe that one of her trips either prior has keyed her into the rise of the dark side, the tipping of the scales, or at least en route to KOFOR, she essentially saw what she was not hoping to see. Because listen, I know Jedi can do this, but even when she was investigating the scene, you could hear in her head, she was hearing the exact events playing out. You know what I mean? Like almost a force echo, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. Like she saw what happened.
Oh yeah,
she saw what happened.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Yeah, and I like how she makes Mog kind of put his guess, and let's run with that. We haven't really talked about it here, but if you think about it, Nick, the Jedi already have their story here to cover their asses, even if they don't know they're covering their asses. Like if Mog's the only one that makes it back, which would be fine, he's going to have a story to tell the council to be like, yep, okay, poor Saul went fucking crazy off the reservation. Glad you guys took him out. Thanks. But if you listen, when they're on that planet and Vernestra's she knows what's going on. She can see it. We've identified that. But she asked Mog, like, hey, what do you see here? And he's like, well, explosion,
Jedi.
Big fight over here. They're fighting kind of erratic. It was one versus many. Yep, had to be a fallen Jedi. And hey, shit, Master Soul was here. It's him. It's like, okay. And she's like, that's a hell of an accusation, pal. But that ultimately, Nick, let's say Vernestra goes down, Soul goes down, and somehow Mog and those other red shirts make it back. There we go. There's the fucking alibi, everybody. It's being shown to us why Kiadi's pointy-ass dunce-cap head haven't been around for a millennia. Well, there you go, because no one's going to know. It's
like, it's very easy to see. There's an active cover-up happening, and two, the people who are the only people who actually know or who have an ink, because like Vernestra may not actually know. Like she may just have a really good feeling, but she's not going to tell fucking Mog.
No.
Like Mog's going to go run and tell the High Council and everybody else as soon as the words come out of her mouth. So what's the safest thing that Vernestra can do? The safest thing that Vernestra can do is act like she doesn't know either and just be like, that it's a hell of an accusation, but I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. Like, I'm not going to tell you that Master Soul would never do this. I'll let you think that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because she could have easily said like, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, just that's quite the accusation. But I mean, don't you feel like this could potentially be the thread they run with when they make it back to the High Council? Like, hey man, Saul went nuts. We found his ass on Brendok with those fucking twins that he broke and shit. Sorry about that, Yoda. We're good though. No dark side. No dark side. No dark side. No dark side. It was Saul. Just having a bad day.
Because that only makes the Jedi Order look competent. They were like, look, we had a rogue Jedi. We took care of it. There were casualties, but in the end, the bad seed was rooted out and taken care of.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And the key, it's just a bad seed. Fallen Jedi, not Sith. Fallen Jedi, not Sith.
Fallen Jedi, not Sith. I like this from Philip O'Neill here. He says, I really wanted a Jackie and George solving problems in the galaxy. So honestly, dude, that would have been
prequel,
fun.
Man. Acolyte prequel. Come on, let's go.
That would have been fun. I would have liked it.
Take it all the way back where Osha and Yord were Padawans together, and he sucked.
I know, right?
Yeah. Poor Yord. The Yord Horde didn't make it past episode 5. Damn. All right, so that is kind of the last egg I had, and I do have a couple Ha's left as we start winding down this breakdown of the Acolyte E6. Teach/corrupt. Who is teaching, who is corrupting, Nick?
That's the question,
Isn't that fun to think about?
Episode.
Was Kamir teaching Osha or corrupting her?
I don't know. You can say a lot of things, but he's just, from Kamir's point of view, he's merely sharing his truth with her.
And I guess on the other end, is it May teaching or corrupting Soul, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think that Soul had the mental capacity at that time to teach.
He ain't teaching shit, man. He's there to lecture. He is there for people to listen to him, not to make them learn. You know what I mean?
He's literally like, you're gonna listen to me so much so that you cannot move.
Yeah, you're locked up, motherfucker. So
yeah, it's like you're not going anywhere.
All right. Oh, Nick, and I think it was you. I always like to try to take credit for this stuff, and this is our last Easter egg here. She dons the helmet, but first giving Nick his credit. Weren't you the one saying that? Someone's like, how the fuck does he see out of the thing? You're like, well, he's probably just using the Force. And
yeah, I was like, he probably can't see.
Sure as shit. Like, I don't know if you picked that up, but he's like, cortosis deprives you of your senses, so it's no different than the helmets we wore as Padawans.
Yeah.
Love it.
So it's literally just him. Think about that. Think about
you and me are the same, right? That was his message. You and me are one and the same. You and me are one and the same.
Yeah, and also it just makes it even more badass that everything that Kamir did before his helmet got fucking knocked off by Jackie, he did purely through the Force. Mm-hmm. No vision.
Yep.
He did not see anything.
Yeah, and that's why he was making those robotic movements, because he really didn't know where he was looking. Like he could sense a presence and a voice, but he didn't know exactly I need to look right here.
Yeah. He literally fully handed over his body to the
Amazing.
Force. Just I don't care what kind of Star Wars fan you are. That's just cool, man.
Yeah.
That's just cool.
That's Luke Skywalker times 1,000 on the bridge of the Millennium Falcon, you know? That's
some Neo shit from the Matrix. When he gets his eyes melted shut.
Exactly.
And dude, I mean, come on. That's just so cool.
Yeah, it shows you how badass he is. But anyways, to kind of wrap up the Easter egg stuff, to make a point here that people might get upset about. But I'm sorry, man. When she dons that helmet, it is purposely shot like Vader getting the mask put on at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Just hearing the breath.
Oh, dude. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get the point of view, just like you got with Vader. You get the sealing of the helmet and then the first new breaths under your new apparatus. I mean, it was the only thing she didn't whisper was Padme.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. It's so good. That ending was so good, man. Just seeing Osha, and she's doing it like Kamir is. I don't know if he's using some sort of subtle Force manipulation or whatever you want to say.
He said he can't do the mind tricks. He can't read minds.
Yeah. Everything that Osha is doing is her natural reaction.
Her own accord, dude.
Yeah, of her own volition.
Because remember when he left her with the idea of the helmet, when he told her it's sensory depriving, and you put it on and you just got to trust it, and he leaves her with that. He's like, no, you just got to trust yourself, Osha.
Yeah, and that is the craziest thing is what is Khmer telling? Believe in yourself. Believe in your feelings, your emotions.
That's
believe
how you're
in
going to get your power
ability.
back. Yeah, that's how you're going to really tap into your true power.
Yeah. And like that would be like that's what parents tell their kids. Believe in yourself. Believe in your ability. Believe in what you can do. Don't be afraid of your emotions.
Basil.
And like what did the Jedi teach you? The Jedi teach you to
fear is bad. Yeah, don't even touch it. Vulcan that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Jedi are Vulcan, right?
Yeah, they are. You cannot feel emotion. You cannot feel attachment. You cannot have people around you that you care about. The only way that you can be a Jedi is to be emotionless and to be robotic in terms of your feelings, your actions, and your words. And what Khmer is giving to Osha is the complete opposite, is to embrace yourself, your abilities, and your emotions, and that is how you will become free. Like, how can you dispute that? Like, it's just like incredible. Like the way that Khmer has been written as a character is incredible. I love it.
Do we lose him? Do we lose him by the end of 8?
Ultimately,
does the big bad come in and just fucking squash him like a bug?
Man, I don't want that to happen, but it's got to eventually, you know, like I don't think that Khmer makes it out of the High Republic era at the very least.
I think if anything, Osha carries on his lineage, his way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, we still have the David Harwood casting. This whole Raven Court definitely now is like, I could see him coming in as a brazen senator trying to, you know, fuck with the Jedi. But if he is Tenebrous or someone like that and he's wearing a big Biff head, man, he just shows up in that armor and he's like, oh, you're still doing this shit? Wagga wagga wiga. See ya. Rule of 2, motherfucker. I love it,
dude. It's I will say this. If Disney holds to their, you know, their not a promise, but like their words that, like, you know, shows that perform well in terms of viewership and engagement will be given further seasons, I don't think that you can question that this show deserves another season.
Yeah, it's like, you got to wonder, though, because they've done it in the past. Do they let the noise affect their business choices? And we know they do. We know they do.
We've seen it. Like, we definitely know that they do. But I think that, man, dude, this show has just got so much going for it that I think it deserves a season 2.
Yeah, I'm with it. Here, real quick, we got one from B-Mad you might like here. The real question is Khmer versus Darth Maul, TPM Maul. Who wins? Go.
Man, that's such a hard question, right?
I'm Khmer. Like, I'm not even going to think about it.
I think it would be Khmer from what we've seen so far. But dude, I mean, Maul can pull out some crazy shit.
But we learned from his fate that Maul could never get beyond his emotions, and that's why he couldn't beat people like Ahsoka or Kenobi.
Yeah, he gets so hung up on his anger.
Yeah, Khmer seems to have fully mastered who he is and how he uses the Force, that I think he really had his shit together.
And I think that, like, the thing with him is like he feels the emotion, and he feels all of those emotions that he told Osha to tap into, but he has mastered them to the point to where he seems emotionless.
Yeah, how about this? He controls them versus them controlling him.
Yeah, like he is the master.
Where Maul would let his emotions control him.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's so good. Agree to disagree, James Munn, but you know, everybody has their own opinion. But yeah, I mean, this show is just so good. I think that it deserves a season 2 purely based off of the numbers, like purely based off of the viewership numbers. And I think that this show, like specifically the character of Khmer, if he makes it out of this series, I hope that he's in season 2.
If anything, just give me a fucking Hot Toys figure. I'll be happy. One I can like take his shirt off too, and just have him sit there, and I can take baths with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, naked Khmer and his little wingy. All right. just a few other things I want to ask young Nick here. And as a lover of AI and robots, Nick, and I don't think I caught an image of our friend here, is Pip gone for good? Did he really get memory wiped with the old patented button press?
Dude, man, I think he did, right?
His colors changed, everything. He's working for May now. Like that poor bat. Could you imagine, like literally just coming up and you could have your whole personality reset by a 2-button press for 5 seconds?
Dude, I mean, that's what can happen with a cell phone, though, right?
That's what I mean. Like he got reset like a fucking old computer or something. It's like
I think it might be because I mean, technically, they fully reset C-3PO,
right?
But
Yeah.
they had his memory.
Correct.
R2 had his memory.
Maybe OSHA's got a USB stick on her or something. She's got an SD card.
Yeah, because he had a little dock, right? Like he had, like Pip had.
Oh, there you go. When she put him down, he downloaded real quick. Yeah, there we go.
Could have downloaded. Could have re-downloaded.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And there's a shot of Basil for fun. Did anyone else? Did Basil piss anyone else off?
No,
he didn't. Me either. I thought it was funny when he was like trying to pretend he knew how to fight, like an idiot.
Dude, yeah, he like goes up to May and like starts being like, "You're like fight better." Like, that's his job.
Yeah,
like that's what he was supposed to do, right?
That's what I was wondering. I mean, if you notice, like his ass then ended up like underneath the deck of the ship floor. So maybe he was the one kind of tweaking on stuff. I think he also thinks Saul's nuts too. And you gotta remember, this guy can't communicate with anyone but Pip, and now Pip isn't Pip anymore. So.
Yeah, like Pip's gone.
He's like, I'm on the fucking crazy train. Get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That'd be great if you just see next week Basil ejects himself out in the skate pod.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
well, why is he still there? He's got, I mean, if his buddy Yord's dead, what's he doing?
Yeah.
I didn't get a picture of this either, but I was like, damn, Vernestra has a pretty cool ship for Jedi. It looked pretty like intimidating. I mean, it had 2 fucking big turrets coming out of the front. I was like, this is very anti-Jedi. So maybe, this lady is a little edgy, right? When you've been around for hundreds of years, you got to have a cool whip.
Yeah.
And the last one here, and I'm surprised we haven't brought this up yet and want your take on it. But do you remember when Osha asked Kamir, well, what do you want then? And he says, the power of 2. Now, dude, Nick, is that our Sith power 2, the rule of 2, or is that a nod to, hey, I know about your power 2?
Dude, that's what I was gonna say.
You know what I mean?
I think that it's more of a nod towards the twin,
right?
The twin power of 2 potential dyad than it is necessarily towards the rule of 2.
So more than likely, and we do now know that Kamir is older than he looks.
Yeah.
More than likely that this dude had a hand in their creation. He at least knew about them and was trying to get them like the Jedi. He was tasked to do something with them by his master at that time. But I don't think the power of 2, it was a clear kind of, well, it's not a double entendre because it wasn't sexual, but
it definitely had a dual
yeah, whatever the fuck that means. Like whatever the word is for that, because I'm stupid, that's what I'm trying to say. where a phrase can mean 2 things or the same.
Yeah, dude, I do think that he realizes the strength of the duo of those 2 together.
Divided Skywalker saying here, what if he's their dad? I mean, I really
possible.
I do think there is no father, but he could have been the one that is like, hey, I've learned this. I've learned this from some shit that I used to do with these guys. So you want to try it out?
Oh man, yeah. The next series should be called The Apprentice.
Oh, please, God.
And Tenebris is played by Trump.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh!
I'm
just have an alien that's totally orange.
The less that guy's on TV, the better.
He can force. So Uno says here he can force heal. That's very possible. That's something that we definitely like touched on a little bit last episode. Was can he force heal?
Well, he sure shit can. He did it to OSHA. So
yeah, he sure can. And that big ass scar, like he may have been killed by that if not for his ability to do that.
Or maybe he didn't even, or that's the best the healing got.
Yeah, maybe that's as good.
Did Kylo kind of have a scar after she impaled him in Halo? I think he did.
I think he did, because you saw that puncture area. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, that takes us to the end of covering episode 6. So what say you about next week? We're down to the penultimate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we may get is a duo of flashbacks. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Because there are 2 stories to be told, right? Like, there's Kamir's story to be told, potentially, hey, you've decided to stay. So let me tell you how I got here.
I like it.
And then, so it may be another episode where it is kind of bouncing back and forth between both of them.
But in flashbacks. In
flashbacks, where it's like you're getting Kamir's story as Kamir is telling it to Osha, and then you're getting the truth of the or at least Soul's truth of the Brendok incident being told from Soul to May. I think that it is going to be another episode that is kind of heavy on flashbacks, but I think that the intention of the episode will be to finally fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah.
Like get those different perspectives and understand why Kamir is where he is via his story, and why Soul is so fucked up by his story.
I like that, because I mean, earlier on, I already went to episode 7, a flashback. The director that did 3 is doing 7, and directors have done pairs of episodes all season, so it only makes sense that Kangata, or whatever the fuck their name is probably going to be doing a flashback episode. My concern with that was, I don't want it just to be Soul and getting May's perspective finally. I did, like Nick said, and I wasn't thinking like Nick. I think that's brilliant. I would love that duality of they too are kind of having their flashback moment, but to cover Kamir's past. Because we already know Osha's past. We know her perspective on that night. We got that in episode 3. We still need to get Soul's and May's, which we're going to get through this is what I've been wanting to tell you for 16 years. We don't know Kamir, so I would love that, Nick. I hope they do that. I think that's brilliant. That's the best way to do it. We get all the Brendok shit mostly resolved by the end of 7, setting up it's going to be a chaotic finale. I really think 7, we should have most of the mystery out of the way. All that will probably be left for 8, big mystery-wise, is the true Sith Master.
Yeah.
Possibly coming in to clean up this mess that Kamir has started. Because he has, at this point in time, Kamir, love him, hate him, depending on which side you're on, he has kind of set up a signal flare to some people that Darksiders are kicking some shit around. And you could argue that Tenebris or whoever's in control at that point in time probably isn't a fan of that.
I mean, think about it this way. Think about Kamir, what has happened in such a short period of time between Kamir and Osha. Like, what Kamir has done is he's done very little and made Osha feel comfortable and even intrigued by what his story could be.
Right.
So now that she's a little bit bought in, he knows, like, if I spill a tale that is like, I've tried both sides, like I have been a Jedi who has been excommunicated because I still wanted to be me. And then I was a Sith who was excommunicated or who was cast aside because I wasn't strong enough. But now I want to be something different. I want to be myself, and I want to use my abilities in the way that I want to. Like, do you not think that would resonate so heavily with Osha? Somebody who had also been cast aside by the Jedi, like, and could really sympathize with somebody who wants to be special, like Kamir did, like who wanted to be a Jedi.
He was a Jedi.
And then when the Jedi said no, said, you know what? I still want to use this power, and there's only one avenue left for me, and it's the dark side. And then also gets shunted out of that. Like, how do you not feel sympathy for somebody like that, whose only goal in life is to live their life, to live their truth the way that they want to, without persecution? Like,
Yeah, remember, he said he killed those Jedi because they were trying to kill him.
yeah, like self-defense, you know?
You still got to
I don't
wonder
know,
why
dude.
he was having May hunt them down, though. Like, what was that just to, to feed into her revenge? Like he said, he made a mistake just because he thought she was more than just her revenge. I don't know. Interesting
Yeah,
stuff.
like proof of concept.
Yeah.
Is it just like seeing the power and not even seeing the power, but making the person who's doing it truly understand the power that you can tap into. You know?
All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, there you go. That's what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. You heard it here. Take it to the freaking bank. Like, share, subscribe, notifications. There we go. I timed it out this time. All right, people. Here we go. It's about that time of the show where we're going to go ahead and transfer our happy asses over to the fan segment. Woohoo! We do it every week here on the Star Wars Time Show as we wrap an episode. There's 2 ways to get involved. Number 1, question of the week. Well, I guess these days I keep forgetting we have 3 ways to get involved. At the top of the show, not the fan segment, ask us anything. You can also have your voice heard. But anyways, back to the fan segment. Question of the week goes up on YouTube community. Goes on Instagram. It goes in our Discord. You just got to find it, which means you better be following us and have those notifications turned on. If you drop a reply, there's a good chance we're going to cover it because not many people see our shit and leave comments. So, Nick, here we go. This week, as we've been doing for the past 4 or 5, we're asking people how they felt about the Acolyte.
There we go.
All right.
So, kicking off the how we feel about the Acolyte series is, I think this is Johnny, right?
Yeah.
This is Johnny
Johnny getting the
Osaka.
double dip today.
Indeed. He says, hello, SWTS. This episode should have been titled, Just Tell Me Already. It was one of those builders. I'm sure we will get some answers soon. Fingers crossed. So, Disney, we went a little risque with Kamir's swim scene. I'm sure those neckbeards were watching with one eye open. And if that didn't do it, how about Pip's Hawk Tua on May?
I love Johnny, man. He never disappoints, dude. He's always got some pop culture reference in there, some little joke. Love it. Hawk Tua! I mean, she's out there making her rounds, trying to capitalize on it. You see, she's with Zach Bryan or whatever.
Oh, really?
She did an interview with some like famous podcaster and said
I saw an article that she now has a publicist, so she's
you might as well, dude. You go viral, you got to run with it, whether it's good or bad. But apparently she's fine with it. Her family's good with it, so good for her. The best thing I think she said is she came out and she said "ooh" to DT. So I like that when the young people are down there. All right, next up, Joe Cat.
Joe Cat says, "Are we getting Baldemnik in the alternate Plagueis origin?" Baldemnik, yes. Alternate Plagueis origin, I don't think so.
Correct. But that is literally I think that's the only sin this show could commit at this point in time is if they change Plagueis' species. Don't care about age, but species. I'm not much of a pearl clutcher with Star Wars, but I think that's going to be a bridge too far.
Would send the fandom.
It would break it. It would finally break it. Like it would be fully broken.
Yeah, and ultimately, like. I don't know how I would feel about it. Like
I'd get over it. I just don't want to deal with the fucking noise, man. It's like
the nonsense.
But that is one I would actually give them some weight to be a little upset about because George had a hand in Plagueis. He did. George doesn't fucking care about Tenebrous, Venomous, your mom. So I don't. But the fact that he generated the dude, at least in name, I feel like you got to kind of keep that sacred.
Yeah. And I do like I don't think that this is going to be Plagueis, so I don't think we have to worry about that. Joe Cat, thank you for your response. Next up, 2797 Studios Bat 2797 chat. He says, "Naked Sith, oh my Disney, what have you become? Overall good episode. Like the look into Kamir's little world, the nasty scar on his back. Could that have been left by a saber whip? Only episodes 7 and 8 will tell. Vernestra is a bad Jedi. She's going to be proven to be the true villain of all this mess." Whoa! So Bat's thinking
that would be interesting
Vernestra
because from what I know, and if there's any THR people in here, she's somewhat one of the heroes of the High Republic novels and era. So that would be a pretty awesome heel turn.
Yeah. Still hoping for a master for Kamir also.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's the thing now, dude. It's like, I'm not sure if he has one, but I will give my thoughts a little bit right after this. Good to see OSHA likes cosplay like the rest of us. Nick was kind of right about the Force Sight thing. So there you go. Bat knew what I was talking about. Another trophy for the SWTS.
Thank you. You can send another one live, Bat, if you want.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say about the Kamir master thing. I don't think that Kamir has a master right now. I think that what is likely happening is that he was like shunted off of a master.
Yeah.
But what may happen to Kamir is somebody like Plagueis wants him dead because he's making too much noise.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
And like bringing this unwanted attention to Darksiders.
Yes.
So like even though he may not be involved with Plagueis or involved with official Dark Lords of the Sith anymore, they're going to want him dead more than anyone because they know what they're cooking up. And if he brings unwanted attention to Darksiders and like opens up the Jedi to like start looking, it's going to be bad for them.
Yep. I think I just said that, so I'm with you, man, 100%. They're not going to want that spotlight out there. Period.
Yeah. So awesome stuff. Like I'm a big fan of where Kamir's going and what he.
I like Johnny. Just make him a Skywalker.
Just make him a Skywalker. Just do it, man. Just make him a Skywalker.
Fuck, that would be hilarious.
Yeah. All right. So Star Wars Toy 73.
I'm Kamir Skywalker.
Star Wars Story 73 says, "Fark, I feel like everyone is being edged right now. The characters and the show is delivering, and I'm here for it. The next episode is going to be full of exposition, and I can't wait. Also, Star Wars Time Show rocks. Love you, cunts." And just
that's
you know,
a loving cunt, by the way.
I'm going to say, Basajan is from Australia. He's from down under, so that is the highest of compliments.
That's a term of endearment down there.
Indeed. Next up, Matty Palanca. I saw Matty Palanca in the chat earlier. He says, "Great episode. Once again, Manny DeCento is delivering a masterful performance. The subtle manipulation of OSHA, letting her use his saber, take his ship, wear his helmet, showing how open and inviting the dark side can be is so intriguing to me."
All right, Matty.
Indeed, we agree. Next up here, Mando Pirate says, "Good episode. I love the dynamic between Kamir and OSHA. OSHA has a lot of anger in her, and I loved seeing her in the mask. She also looked good with the saber. I was so jarred when they showed the minute they transitioned to Jecki lying dead on the ground, as well as seeing Yord and company dead.
They really did linger on those dead bodies.
Yeah, those dead bodies
for a
hung
long
around
time.
for a bit. It's going to be an interesting final 2 episodes. So good stuff there. Lady Elaine 24.
This lady is active, huh?
She's always active in the chat. It was interesting to see where Kamir lives and another side to him and understand how he can manipulate people. That scar on his back is probably why he hates the Jedi. Maybe so. After seeing how Vernestra can whip that whip saber, it was probably her that created that monster within him. I am really hoping OSHA doesn't turn to the dark side, but it appears inevitable.
It's done.
Disney is really drawing out Saul's involvement, which is looking more and more like the Jedi are really responsible for some bad stuff on Brendok. Of course, we have all suspected this for quite a while. Episodes 7 and 8 should be epic. Whiskey Cantina says, "I didn't know the show was still on. That's because you don't watch it." And then Beast Mobile 96 B Mad in chat says, "I liked it, and I'd be lying if I didn't get a little bit of butterfly seeing Kamir go nude. Hey now, JK." Other than that, it was interesting to see people need people need to realize that OSHA has always been conflicted, which is why the Order supported her leaving. It only makes sense that Kamir uses this to his advantage. I'm more interested in what Soul's motivation with May, or what's Soul's motivation?
I'm going to kick in real quick. Devin's down here kicking some interesting stuff. Apparently, in lore, Vernestra had a Padawan named Imri Kantaros, and they dueled about an argument over the dark side.
Oh, Imri Okay, yeah. I mean, I haven't read a lot of the High Republic stuff. Imri Kantaros.
Yeah, I mean the name. I mean, you could always change your name, but
Yeah, I mean, but like he's saying, Imri C, you move that C to the
Right.
front of the Imri. Kamir, maybe that could fit, man. That could fit.
hey, good for you for reading words and shit. That's above my pay grade.
Yeah, like, hey, I mean, I'm telling you, this series is I'm gonna start reading the High Republic again because of this series. It's got me.
Nick's breaking out the reading brain again.
It's got me intrigued. I'm really into it. So I'm gonna revisit the books. Josu Productions 6557. So that's Josu in our chat. He says, I didn't like this episode. To me, it was a major drop off, too much conveniences throughout the episode. I don't mind Kamir and Osha scenes. I thought it was that was the most interesting, but Sol and May and Basil was totally useless. Sol was able to sense danger in previous episodes that was already established, but now he can't sense her about to stab him.
Mentally
when
broken.
She could, yeah, I mean, just think about what being a human is like when things are like what would you be like if you just saw 9 of your best friends murdered in front of your eyes? Like, just think about the mental stress and what that does to a person. And the fact of the matter is, Jedi are human. Jedi are sentient beings that have feelings. As much as they try to repress them and as much as they try to shunt them away, they have them. And when you see your best friends literally murdered in front of your eyes, can't imagine what that would do to your mental state, no matter how mentally strong you are. When she stunned him just for plot convenience. And I thought they thought Kamir died from the bugs, but now they know he isn't dead. I don't think that they ever thought that he was dead to the bugs.
If anyone thought that guy who just mowed through 8 Jedi was going to get killed by Moss, like come on.
0% chance.
I honestly thought that was like the dumbest moment of episode 5. I thought it looked fucking stupid. Like, I'm not going to lie. That was like, you got a guy that just mowed through an entire legion of Jedi and he can't like force pull a fucking flashlight off his back. But hey, like listen, that's called Star Wars plot convenience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, talking about plot convenience. That was the plot convenience in the last episode.
This guy is highly skilled in the Force, and he can't rip off a goddamn flashlight.
Yeah, I mean, plot conveniences in Star Wars are like fucking, like chocolate and peanut butter. They go together perfectly throughout the history of Star Wars. Yeah, I don't ever think that they were dead. At the best, they were like, this is going to distract him long enough so I can get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Communication all of a sudden isn't working properly. Oh, wow, shocker. It was a hot mess to me, although the planets, Cortosis, and the hints of Plagueis was good. Yeah, I mean, like, just go back and watch Star Wars throughout history. There's been so many plot conveniences that it's fucking hard to keep track of.
This show, I'll say this, if anything, this show has the biggest whiplash factor I've seen across Star Wars shows. Like, there are people, I mean, I'm telling you, Connor, this could be Connor from Beyond the Dune Sea, Josu. That was pretty much the conversation I had last night. He's like, I thought this episode was fucking garbage. He's like, it was like TLJ to me. I'm gonna go, wow, it's so crazy how fans process this show differently. Like, I did not have that reaction, but hey.
Yeah.
Opinions are opinions. Josu has his. We have ours. It is what it is.
I mean, I just like I feel so nice for Josu because he clearly just has never experienced trauma to a point to where it affects your mental state. Like, and that's what happened to Sol. When you experience that level of trauma in your life, do you really, if you saw your best friends get killed in front of you, do you think that 15 minutes later, do you think that even 3 hours later, you would be as sharp mentally as you ever were? Of course not. That is not how physiology works.
If a bucket of berries falls out of my fridge and spills over the floor, it takes me like 3 hours to recover.
Yeah, I mean, so
mentally, I'm like, fuck it. I hate everybody. Fuck these berries. Fuck my life.
Little shit, yeah, like little shit truly throws off my mental state sometimes, where it's like I can't even function. Like, So honestly, Josu, if you don't know how that has happened to Soul, I am envious of the position that you are in as a human being to have never been frazzled
it
or
would get
have
me
trauma.
off the couch of my therapist, that's for sure.
Holy shit. How lucky. Next up, Darth LVJ2262 says, this episode wasn't bad, but we barely moved forward. This episode made me feel like this show would have gone better as a movie.
I've heard this a lot, and I want to make a comment on this show should have been a feature film. There's no way it would have fit as a feature film to start.
It would have been two.
What I will tell you is this show should have been a miniseries. It should have been less episodes, longer runtime. That I can get behind. But listen, that's not Leslie and her team's decision. Disney, and this is a fact because the writer has said this, Disney is the one that says, all right, your story needs to be in 8 episodes. Fucking figure it out. Like, cut it where you need to cut it. They may be rough sometimes, but you need this runtime, this amount of episodes, tough shit, if it makes things a little janky week to week.
Yeah, so, I mean, the episode runtime and stuff like that, like you said, Matt, that's not dictated by them. Last one here, my friend Phil, he says, I expected a slower episode after all of last week's action, but too much so here for my liking. Osha and May both seem to have inconsistent motivations.
Ooh, I forgot to click read more.
or things that they
Phil.
care about.
You'll just have to guess what he said next.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, there's just too much of a human element. Like, people... Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so weird to me.
This is my point, though, about the show, Nick. Like, you can't crush your buddy. That's just, this show does this to people. Even Common Sense Star Wars. It's very weird. Like, I told Connor, I was like, someone needs to do a fucking study on this and produce a paper, a journal. But this show is the most whiplashy show across the different types of Star Wars fans in the world.
Because here's what it does is it portrays Star Wars characters as humans, as people with inconsistent motivations, and like, because you know what happens with inconsistent motivations? Your motivation changes when the information that is presented that you have changes. Like, my motivation is not going to be the same if I believe that my sister killed my family and the Jedi were only there to protect me, and then I find out that that's a lie. My motivation is changing, and I will be inconsistent with my feelings and how I approach things when the information that I have changes, and when I'm presented with new information that connects better with my experience than the information that I had before. So are there inconsistent feelings in how they are approaching things? 100%. Because that's what happens when humans are presented with new information. And when you learn things that you don't know.
Phil, you're getting schooled, bro.
And like, but that's just the human element of it, which has been absent from Star Wars for such a long time. Like, the Jedi didn't feel human because they don't have any emotions. And the only Jedi that felt human was Anakin, because he lived in his emotions. Mm-hmm. And you saw Anakin and you're like, I get what this guy's going through. He is a part of an order that tells him expressly that you cannot have attachments to others, but he has fallen in love with somebody else. So what is he supposed to do? And he is also being told and being like held up as this fulfillment of a Jedi prophecy.
Right.
Like, what?
But they hold him back. Like, you're the chosen one, but you can't be a master. You can't use your powers fully either.
Yeah, like, he is like, Anakin Skywalker was being pulled in so many different directions by not only the Jedi Order, but by his own emotion and attachment to the person that he
was
loves.
there for couple decades, or at least 15 years, or 10 years. Like, hey, buddy.
Yeah, and the master manipulator of the dark side pulling at this kid constantly.
Yeah.
Like, everybody else in the Jedi is a fucking robot. Like, they have purged themselves of emotion the best that they could. And now that we're finally seeing Star Wars characters that have human reactions to events and emotions that are dictating not only their mental state, but just like being so traumatized by what they've seen that they're not able to properly process things that are happening right in front of their face, just like what happens with real human beings, people are like, huh, this doesn't make sense. And it's like, oh yeah, because Star Wars characters are finally being portrayed as flawed and as human and as like having emotions and reactions to things that real people do. Like this is so good to me because this is exactly like this falls in line with human physiology and like human reaction to stress and trauma and loss and everything else. Like it makes the most sense to me.
Love it.
I just like
they love it. Devin's like, he's cooking. Here guys, Nick's on a roll here. I was like, Phil struck a chord with you on Nick.
But it's like I'm not like, and it's not an indictment on
I know
Phil or anybody else. It's like this is the type of storytelling that Star Wars has been missing.
And you dig
like,
it, right?
And
I dig it too. I dig it, but not everyone does, and it's just
not
it's
everybody
funny.
digs it.
Because you would think someone like, I hate to keep using Connor, but he's a creator. He's got his head somewhat screwed on straight as a fan. You would think that he just, kind of takes this all in kind of like you and I. No, I mean, he's very clear like that this episode sucked, and he'll be telling you why in his show this Friday. Yeah. And we'll be interested to hear.
And just to give you a head, like me and Phil were like best friends in high school. like me and Phil were best friends, love Star Wars, and like we're still, still good friends.
That's funny.
It's fun with this, to have like
until
this
Phil shows up at Nick's house
like
and punches him in the stomach.
No. I mean, so much that like me and Phil were writing a Star Wars book together years ago.
Speaking of Phil, is poor Phil stuck in the new religious Taliban of Louisiana, or did he get out?
Phil lives in Alabama, works for Boeing on their fighter jet project.
Oh, so he's stupid then.
Yeah,
he's not very smart, is what you're saying.
So this is what Phil. I love Phil.
He's like an astrophysicist or something.
Phil used to work on Boeing's space program.
Look, see, I knew it.
Phil is a genius for sure.
Okay.
Phil used to work on their space program, but he asked to be put on their fighter jet program because that was always his dream, which I knew from when.
Oh, that is hilarious!
So he chose to not work on the space program and chose to work on the fighter.
So
jet
Phil
program.
actually took his Star Wars fandom and applied it in real life, and is actually working on sci-fi type of shit. So,
exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no. Phil used to come over to my house, and we would have to have peanut butter there because every time Phil would come over, he would eat our.
He just thinks you're an idiot for liking the Acolyte. Now makes sense because he's probably too smart for Star Wars. Period.
Exactly. He's like, that chip wouldn't work that way because I built one and it doesn't.
I mean, him and Elon can bond over this because I think Elon's upset too.
Phil is smart. Is far smarter than Elon.
Well, of course.
I know.
Don't say that out loud because Elon bros actually think Elon is smart and they forget that he's not the one doing all this stuff.
He's not the one who's actually building.
Right. He just says go, kind of like Steve Jobs, like go.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you got to give him some credit, but not that much.
Yeah. A hero without flaws is
all
a
right.
lie.
Well, there you go.
Like
you guys just all got schooled there. Thank you, young Nick.
But that's just why I like this show. That's my opinion on things and why this show has struck.
I thought it was a fucking opus, man. Speaking of opus, you should clip that whole 4 or 5 minutes.
I will try to. I'll see if I can find that.
There you go. Jacob Genesis coming in here. He's talking about all the flaws. Yeah, Obi-Wan flawed, Qui-Gon flawed. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes a character. A character is not made by their strengths, but by their flaws and their strengths.
That's right. What did Jackie say? We're not defined by those we lose, but how we survive, or something like that.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that brings us to the top 5 Star Wars fan arts features of the week. We do it every show, every week. The way to get involved is get on that Instagram. Look at StarWarsTime.show. If you got some Star Wars content to publish it and use ad tag at StarWarsTime.show. And you can use hashtag StarWarsTimeShow. But if you want to be chosen or considered for the top 5 segment, you have to do the ad tag, because that's all young Nick's looking at. He don't fuck around, right? Monday nights he sits down, he has his barbiturate of choice, and he picks his 5 from the tagged shots only. All right, Nick, who did you bless this week?
This week's top 5 kicks off with Optimus Prime, and he's given us an awesome scene recreation from Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, when Master Kenobi finally finds his way into the Jedi archives, pulls up the holo recording of his former friend and Padawan, Anakin Skywalker, pledging his loyalty to the newly discovered Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine. Yeah, man. I mean, this is just a really solid scene recreation.
It's straight practical too. I mean, this is all from the Hot Toys Rots Kenobi. So even those projections, those are just little plastic pieces. He's got the light coming up through the table. Optimus, kind of like me. I mean, I know Optimus does other photography, but they've also, especially with Star Wars, have settled into these more portrait style shots, and they're quite well done. I do like the pull focus on the hollows versus Obi-Wan, making them kind of where your eye goes first. It's a great shot from Optimus Crime with a K.
There we go. Next up, we got Mando mugshots.
Again.
Mando mugshots.
This is back to back.
Yeah, I mean, he's been killing it, giving us an awesome look at Dr. Aphra and Black Chrysanthemum on a mission out in the field. Looks like they may be working with some of the little Jawas. I don't know if they're on Tatooine or not, because now we know that Jawas don't exist specifically on Tatooine. But I love the setup. I love the posing, and I also just like the detail in the environment is incredible here from Mando mugshots. It really has an awesome depth of feel within this shot.
Yeah, totally. Mando, again, I believe, is primarily an iPhone shooter, which makes these even more impressive. But the way they've been able to layer in the digital backgrounds with the practical foregrounds, it just gets better with each shot that Mando _mugshots puts out.
Yeah, so good stuff there for Mando mugshots. Matt, this question you just dropped in the chat, you got to put that on the Instagram, dude. That's such a good question.
Okay.
That's such a good. I think that people would be conflicted about this, but I'm with Bat. I think that Qui-Gon would have been like, we have gone a step too far.
I guess we'll save that for a random question of the week or something.
Yeah, something like that's a good one. That's a good one.
All right. No, Jacob Genesis kind of had me laughing about. He's on like a tear about Qui-Gon and how he's got a gambling addiction and shit. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Dave Filoni himself said the only reason Anakin truly fell is because Qui-Gon died, and Qui-Gon would have been the father he would have needed, where Obi-Wan was more of a resentful brother. So, yep, you're on to something there, Jacob. All right, Nick, it's been documented for future posting.
There we go. All right, next up we have Cap Wolf Photos. Cap _Wolf _photos.
This is Yumna, dude. But except they're at a rock show. They took the show on the road.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Matt said. This is the road show tour of the indoor celebration after the fall of the Death Star. So we got two of our little Ewok friends here playing a live show with neon lights flashing in the background, dancers in the foreground, and just having a good old time after the fall of the Empire.
Yep. No.
I just thought it's such a cool shot.
Yeah. Which ones are these, by the way? Is the one Wicket, and then who's the one in the main?
I must say Wicket is the one that's in the foreground that you can't really get a good look at. What's his name?
I thought this was Logray, but he's wearing the wrong headpiece.
That's what I thought it was too, because his
Oh, hold on. And on drums, Breath Up. There you go.
Okay, well there we go. Breath Up the Ewok.
Like, it's a legit fucking figure, I guess. Ewok drummer.
He does have the same pattern as
Logray,
Logray, but it's different colors. Logray is white and brown, and this one here.
So this really must be the fucking drummer from the celebration, then, right?
It could be, yeah.
Wow. All right. Breath Up. Nice to meet you, pal.
Yeah.
Name's Chief Matlu.
So next up,
I love this shit. I don't even know how you describe this. It's like a fucking magazine cover, or come join the clone army, right? I mean, it's like we want you type of shit.
Yeah, it's like a military recruitment poster almost. So this is from JZHG6669 on Instagram, and what they've done is put together an awesome like military recruitment poster, some sort of like poster with the Umbra operative ARC trooper, which is an awesome looking trooper that's like clad in like a yellow, gold, and black.
They almost look like it's almost like a skeleton paint job they did. Like their armor's blacked out, and then they paint yellow over it to almost mimic like bones.
Yeah, so just a sick looking figure, and he gave him like an Imperial probe droid companion, and then in the background just like superimposed Umbra operative ARC trooper in the back with this awesome like fiery landscape. This is the best shot I've seen of this figure.
It is a figure I would have liked to have gotten, but there was some bullshit exclusive. Fuck it. But this is the best I've seen. I love this thing. This is the poster, right? This is a wall hanger.
Yeah. I mean,
propaganda. There you go, Bats. That's what it is.
Yeah,
propaganda
poster.
Go. I'm stupid.
I mean, this is an awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Like this would be great.
It's super sharp. It's awesome.
If JZHZ had a little shop, I would buy this and hang it on my wall. But that's also their style, though, man. Like if you kind of go through JZHZ's like feed, like they do incredible picturesque shots and like stuff that would look fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at
the poster.
This Umbra operative is their muse.
Yeah, recently for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely some really great shit here. Like look at that Mando shot. Holy crap.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, awesome they're good. Well, I guess we should follow them back. There we go. Done.
And then to close out this week's top 5, we have one of our favorites here at the Star Wars Times Show.
This figure is so good.
Yeah, Coleccionista de Plastico on Instagram.
Look at that look, man.
And dude, that's what it is. Like Coleccionista de Plastico line this the pose on this figure is perfect. Victor Garcia is their name, and just the angle of the shot, like kind of that like shooting up towards Vader's face, and it's Vader with the cracked helmet, so you see the charred remains of Anakin Skywalker's head. He even positioned the eye to be looking down at the camera.
Very menacing.
Super menacing. The hand positioning of the off saber hand, the saber being ignited with the bokeh coming from the blade. Like everything about this shot is just picture perfect from Coleccionista de Plastico. Just spot on, intimidating Vader to its core.
Yeah, I mean, love it. It just goes to show you how awesome this Hot Toys figure is. It's super photogenic, especially in the hands of someone like Coleccionista de Plastico on Instagram.
And that is it. That's the end of the top 5. That's the end of our show for this week. Thank you all for joining us an hour earlier. Yeah, we kicked off this one an hour earlier. I know it may have thrown some of the regular listeners off, but hey, it's a holiday week here. Matt's got some fireworks to get to, so go ahead, Matt, and close us out.
Yeah, we just got a fucking tornado warning here, so
maybe no fireworks.
Oh, and I can hear it rumbling. I don't know if it's coming through the mic, but yeah, Central Ohio is about to get electric today and tomorrow. So I'm a little bummed out right now. We'll see what happens. A little bummed out. A little Pittsburgh. See, every once in a while that Pittsburgh slang comes out of me still. Anyways, like Nick said, hey, sometimes we move the show. The best way to be in the know is to be following the Star Wars Time Show on all of our socials. We make it easy for you. All you got to do is head on over to starwarstime.net. If you hit that little site on the internet, look up at the top. You can get looped in on the socials. Just make sure to turn on those notifications. You can also find our podcast of this show. So we do the live, and then the next day or two, the podcast version goes out on pretty much every fucking platform you could ask for. And if it's not on a platform you use, as we said in the past, your platform's probably bunk. All right? StarWarsTime.net. Hit it up. See where we're at. Sign up, sub, leave comments, leave ratings and reviews if you can, especially on the podcast side, because that stuff helps us just as much as the comments, the subs, the shares, the likes does on the YouTube side. Speaking of the Tubi, if you're new here, you liked what we did today, we'd love for you to give us a subscribe, so go ahead and hit that button down below. And if you really like what we did, and you think we deserve a little Skrilla, why don't you go ahead and consider becoming a member and hit that join button down yonder. There's always time for Star Wars Time, and the more of us that know this, the better. So come join in the fun. SWTS for life. If you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, well, I don't want to do this yet. That's right. Happy 4th to other Americans. Might be the last one we have where it actually means true independence. But let's hope that's not the case. If anything else, don't forget that if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you, and you, always.